pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Councilor Perry?
Present.
Councilor Cook? Present. Councilor Janick?
Present.
Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor deMedeiros?
Present.
Councilor Burk?
Present.
Councilor Vieira?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to bring 4 regular meetings, A and B, up to the front of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Regular meeting, retiring town council. Approval of town council minutes, November 14th, 2022. And approval of town council meetings, November 14, 2022. Would anyone like to take anything aside?
Yes, Madam President. The November 14th regular session minutes, just for one correction on 5th page, about halfway down under the, oh, you know what? Hang on. No, I think I made a mistake.
It's not the solar, it's the other one, right?
Right, I may have made, hang on. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Under the item D, Tiverton Code of Ordinances, the short-term rental discussion, in the second full paragraph under D1, where it says D1, it says the public hearing was closed, but we actually voted to continue that public hearing on the next second paragraph after that, so we should strike the public hearing was closed. Motion to strike that sentence.
Everyone see where Mike's referring to?
Yes, yeah, I see it.
Any further discussion or questions?
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Motion to approve item 4A1 as amended and 4A2.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. We have brief closing remarks from Councilor Vieira and Councilor Cook, who are leaving us this evening. Who wants to start? Bill?
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight is my last night as a town councilor. I'll keep it short and sweet. My family and friends know how I feel about their support and love over the past 2 years. I think what I want to do is take the opportunity to thank all the town employees that I've gotten to know and work with over the last 2 years. The men and women who volunteer their time on committees. You guys are committed, you guys are conscientious, and the town runs because of you. So thank you. To the people at this table, I wish you guys the very best. Thank you for laughing at my jokes for the last 2 years. And it's a small town, so I'll see you around. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cook?
I, too, want to thank everyone for all the help that I have received so I could do my counseling correctly. I always got a lot of support from the employees and the department heads, the solicitor and the town administrator to help me and support me in my job as counselor to help the constituents. I always tried to help the constituents the best way I could. I also went further to do a couple of ordinances and resolutions, and I got great satisfaction from helping the town for that. I want to thank all the councilors for your help also, and I want to thank everyone for letting me serve the town and the public. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Donna. Representative Edwards?
Thank you, Madam President. On behalf of the General Assembly, Speaker Shikarchi and Leader Blazczewski and myself, we have a citation to you from the House leadership in honor of your many years of public service to the town of Tiverton.
Thank you.
You as well.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Vieira.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have one last thing for Councilor Burk. We have one last thing for you.
We appreciate everything you've done, and your love of modern art has always shined through. So we'd like to present this beautiful photograph that you so much adore.
We know how much you love this, and that's why we just, none of you get this but us, we're sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think there's a whole bunch of you here for what I'm doing next. The swearing in of William S. Bailey III as Tiverton Fire Chief. Bill? Do it right over here so everyone can see. You can see. And I'll go real slow because the fire department complained about how fast I swore them in the other day. So repeat after me. I state your name.
I, William S. Bailey III,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and obey the laws of the United States of America.
and obey the laws of the United States of America,
And I will, in all respects,
and I will in all respects
observe the provisions of the Charter
observe the provisions of the Charter
and the ordinance of the Town of
and
Tiverton,
the ordinances of the town of Tiverton,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of Fire Chief
and will faithfully discharge the duties of Fire Chief
for the Town of
for
Tiverton.
the town of Tiverton.
So help me
So
God.
help me God.
Congratulations. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to have a picture. There's a lot of chiefs here from other towns. I want to welcome them all. And I would like you to take a picture with Bill, and then our fire department. Take a picture with Bill, please. Come on up, everyone. Our next agenda item is swearing in of the town council. Will everybody please stand? Also the town sergeant.
Now, I see that they've given me the one with the brakes in it, unlike 4 years ago when I just kind of went on and on and on.
Yeah. We just made sure.
It was good. Now, there are 2 points where you actually have to say something is different than what I'm going to say. One is your name, and the other one is your position. So, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I. Your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution. And obey the laws of the United States of America. And of the state of Rhode Island. That I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the Charter. And ordinances of the town of Tiverton. And will faithfully discharge the duties as a for the town of Tiverton. So help me God. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. At this point, Joan's going to run the meeting for a few minutes.
Yeah, no, I got a lot more work to do.
Thank you. Where are you? Councilor. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
We have to switch sides.
No, you're can't play that. You can't preside.
You can't preside in this.
Roll call of the newly elected town council. Councilor DeMedeiros.
Here.
Councilor Burk.
Here.
Councilor Perry.
Present.
Councilor Edwards.
Here.
Councilor Janick. Present. Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Milbourne.
Present.
All are present. Now we will conduct the election of the town council president. For that process, I will call for nominations. Do I have a nomination for town council president?
Madam Clerk, I nominate Denise DeMedeiros to be town council president.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for town council president?
Second.
I will second.
No second needed under Robert's rules.
No seconds needed.
I will nominate John Edwards.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we will vote on the first nomination. Voting for the first, for the town council president as Denise DeMedeiros.
So you need to, just, in the roll call, they just need to state who they're voting for. It's not.
Oh, it's a roll call when there's two?
No,
Okay.
one roll
No,
call.
there's one roll call, and they say who they want.
Okay. Yes, I've never had two.
Yeah.
It's usually been only one. Okay, so roll call. Councilor Perry.
John Edwards.
Councilor Edwards.
John Edwards.
Councilor Janick.
Denise DeMedeiros.
Councilor J. Edwards.
Denise DeMedeiros.
Councilor Burk.
Denise DeMedeiros.
Councilor Milbourne.
Denise DeMedeiros.
Councilor DeMedeiros.
Denise DeMedeiros.
With a 5-2 vote, Councilor DeMedeiros is the town council president. I will now turn it over to the president. Congratulations.
Do you have my agenda? No. Joan, did you take my agenda?
Is that it?
Nope, I got mine.
You need it? Yeah, sure, mine.
I think I do need it. Thank you, everyone. The next is the election of the town council vice president. I will take nominations. I'd like to nominate Michael Burke. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any more nominations?
I'll nominate John Edwards.
Do I have a second?
I'll second myself.
Okay. This is a roll call vote. Council Perry?
John Edwards.
Council Edwards?
John Edwards.
Council Janick?
Michael Burk.
Council Edwards?
Michael Burk.
I'm Michael Burk. Michael Burk?
Michael Burke.
Council Milbourne?
Michael Burke.
The vote's 5-2. The Vice President of the Town Council is Michael Burk. Okay. Consent agenda. Acknowledge receipts of minutes from the boards, commissions, and committees. Historic Preservation Advisory Board 2, Planning Board 2, Litter Control 1. Acknowledge receipts of reports, Treasurer Charette, October 2022, Budget and Review Revenue Reports. Acknowledge receipts of correspondence, letter from Amory Valiant Baez, 15 Hobson Avenue, regarding gunshot noise. Letter from A.J. Miranda regarding unpaid portion of Captain Circle. Letter from John M. Albany, Lieutenant U.S. Navy, regarding request for active military exception to STR ordinance amendment. Approval of the tax assessor abatements, $2,007.24. Approval of license renewals, non-advertised, tobacco dealers license renewal, Victorine license renewal, holiday license renewal, and antique license renewal. Would any of the council like to take any of the agenda items off?
I would like to, you have my agenda.
Oh, I gotta find my agenda.
Move item
It's not.
E, holiday license regarding specifically the Secundit Outfitters to be dealt with coinciding with item 10D 2, East Bay Ammunition.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Council Burke.
So I just move that we take the holiday license renewal that is under item E, 7E, for related to East Bay Ammunition, and move that to item 10D to take both, to take both of those licenses up at the same time under East Bay Ammunition.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? I'm going to take a brief break right now because I know some people came just to see us get sworn in, and I'm going to allow them to go if they want to, so let's just take a couple of minutes. Is that all right? Right. So is there any public comments this evening? No, right? No public. Okay. Public hearing, advertised, discussion, and possible vote, Four Corners Arts Center, Roslyn Ware, 28 East Road, plot 706, lot 111, AKA 3850 Main Road. Request approval of entertainment license, subject to meeting all legal requirements. Roz, you can come up. I'm going to open it up to public, I'm going to open up the public hearing now. I do know that the building, oh, he's right here. The building inspector's here. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this subject? Anyone in the audience like to speak on this subject? Well,
How many of these do we take? Just one? One.
it's one of these. Well, I guess they gave us extra. There's one of these. Do you guys have this?
Somebody hit the light switch.
Somebody hit the
We didn't
light
pay-
switches
we
back
didn't-
there?
Somebody hit the bed.
We didn't pay the electricity.
Take a roll call.
Pay the electric bill.
Okay, who wants to start, Mike? It was continued because we didn't have the whole completed packet. In front of you now, I see we have the parking plan. I'm just looking to see what the new stuff is.
Or was it updated letter from the building official?
All right, so, Roz, have you seen this?
I'm not sure what you're looking at.
All right, I'll read this. This is from John Hoyle. Unless you want to read it, John? You want to go over it with us?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Would you like me to read it verbatim or just give you a paraphrase?
Just give us a paraphrase on what, well, first of all, there was the parking issue. So you have a statement on that.
I do.
Okay.
Okay. So the fire marshal and I did a recent inspection of the meeting house structure itself and made a determination of what the maximum occupant load is for that facility for our records and to establish what it is. Based upon that, we came up with a parking calculation for the amount of maximum allowable occupants. However, pursuant to the application sent in by Ms. Ware, it's a request number of parking spaces for 130 people. So if that's going to be the number that we're going to base the parking requirements are, it's different than it's actually less than what the maximum allowable occupant load is for the code. So whatever number it is that the council wants to decide on what that is, that will determine what the total number of parking spaces are required.
So you divide it by, so if she has 100 people there, you divide it by 4.
That's correct.
And that's the number of parking spaces.
That's correct. That is correct.
So because she's asked for 150 max?
130.
130.
130.
So she needs how many?
33.
And what does she have?
Well, again, this is a dynamic situation. If everybody's familiar with the property, they all kind of, blend in with one another. But in accordance with the survey that was prepared by a professional land surveyor, there are currently 21 parking spaces that, for lack of better terms, we could say dedicated to the meeting house facility itself, as the majority of them are entirely on that lot, which is lot 111, I believe.
So there's like 12 in front there, right, Roz? Like right in front of the building?
12 on the actual property, yes.
And then the adjacent lot has 9?
There is, the only way to access it is directly from the meeting house property, and there's a tree line that separates it. They are partially on the other parcel of land, but for all intents and purposes, and the people that are going to be going to the meeting house are going to primarily use those first.
Now, the adjacent lot, is that parking spaces for another business?
I wouldn't say it's not necessarily for it, again, because of its location and the way that it is set up. It actually invites you to park from the meeting house facility, whereas all of the other buildings, the parking spaces are in closer proximity to those particular structures.
So that's 21.
That's correct.
So we want to,
Well, again, at 130 people, occupants of that building, we're required to have 33 spaces, which means there is a deficit of 12 spaces. However, pursuant to the zoning ordinance, Article 10, Section 1C, parking regulations, it does stipulate that all off-street parking areas required under that section must be provided for on or adjacent to the site of the principal use. So once again, we have a total of actually 5 properties, one of which is completely vacant, so really not part of the discussion here, but the remaining abutting properties are in fact owned by the same individual or the same partnership.
but there's other businesses that own those.
There are other buildings, and that's correct. Well, those spaces are dedicated to the use of those buildings.
And shared parking is not allowed in this area?
Well, when it's, again,
In the
we're talking about...
historical commercial district,
Village commercial.
village, oh my God.
No, it's not prohibited.
Shared parking is not allowed in the village commercial, but adjacent parking is.
So that's 21.
Or anything that's adjacent to that, or anything that's adjacent to that parcel, yes. She has 21 with adjacent, yes.
So if you do 21, then her max event would be 84.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
There are 21 spaces, plus I'm allowed the additional 8 spaces on the adjacent parcel. That, I believe, is what Mr. Marcello just said.
No.
Yes, I think.
Well, I know what Mr. Marcello said, but go ahead, Mike.
Just orient us on this map, if you would. So the 21 spaces, it's over there. If I'm, yeah, you want me to?
No,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bring it closer, please.
All right, so if you orient the handout that I gave you longitudinally this way, East Road at the bottom,
Yep.
okay? The property in the upper right-hand corner is the property in question.
Correct.
That's the meeting house.
Yep.
Okay, so on the meeting house, we have spots here, 2, okay? We have spots entirely on this property, which include actually 3 entirely on the property, 8 more entirely on the property, okay? And then these here, okay, which like I say, they traverse the 2 property lines. However, it just makes sense that the direction that they are going to be accessible from are from this parking area.
Okay.
So it's
But on the property itself, that's 13, not counting the ones on...
10, 11, 12, 13,
Okay.
entirely on the property.
And the other ones are how many?
We have 6 more here,
Yeah,
and then 2 more here.
2 more there.
So 8.
So that's 8, so that's 21.
That's 21.
Okay. Were there any other spaces that you thought met the criteria?
Well, the issue at hand that we have tried to discern where the parking spaces are is that the entire area is gravel. So there are no delineations as to where the parking spaces actually are. It's a free-for-all, okay? Based on the
So how
survey.
can you say, based on the survey?
Based on the survey, okay, that was done by a professional land surveyor, he does in fact show us that there is room, if they were in fact to go and strike these, for instance, there is room for properly sized parking spaces that meet this map.
Okay. Those spaces there.
All these spaces on the entire property are all to our standards of 8 feet by
Okay.
19 feet.
But those other spaces are not adjacent, correct?
Well, again, for semantics, Mike, adjacent, meaning on it.
Adjacent to the lot.
Adjacent to the lot. So in
Which
fact,
one's on adjacent?
So Michael, which ones are and which ones are not adjacent in your mind?
You can't see them.
Yeah. So it would be the,
Well, I mean, you could make, if these are obviously
Yes.
adjacent to this, and you could potentially count these up here to this This is an adjacent lot. This is map 709, lot 108, and there's a number of spaces there, so.
But my question is, those parking spaces are used for other businesses.
Correct. I mean,
So while those other businesses, they have the number that they should have, which includes those, you can't
Correct.
take those away.
Right,
Because
I don't know the
we,
square footage of this building, but I would assume that there's parking, I don't know if it's extra, but there needs to be enough parking for this building by square footage to obviously to meet this lot.
right,
Correct.
and we should know this because that business was licensed, so they were told how many they need.
Excuse me, may I offer a solution?
Yeah,
Am I allowed to speak?
1 second, Mike, do you want to continue? Or?
For now, I'm okay. I'm still a little bit muddy, but I'm fine with hearing what Roz has to say.
Okay. What adjacent means, at least to me, and my understanding and the understanding of the attorneys who have worked on this for years, any parcel of land that is next to the Meeting House parcel qualifies as an adjacent parcel. Every building that is in any particular place at Four Corners is required to have a specific number of places, and those are all independent of the ones that the Meeting House is using. So even though I don't label them, there are concrete stops at every single place, and anybody who wants to go, say, to the gallery, the Four Corners Gallery, can park in one of 16 spaces that are there allotted to that. And in addition to that, on that same parcel, there are enough for the additional to make up the 33 for the Meeting House. So there is no duplication of the numbers. Everybody's got a space, and there are in total on that side of the road, there are about 80 spaces. So nobody is without a parking space who is required to have one.
What keeps coming in my head, because I've been here for 10 years and heard all the lawyers, is there's no such thing as shared parking in this area.
But we're not sharing, this is not
That's
what we
what I'm
have.
saying.
This is not shared, this is adjacent parking.
So those
Which is allowed in
adjacent-
code. Yep.
But what we need to make sure is those other businesses have their allowed,
Independently, right.
have
right.
their required parking
Correct.
spaces. Do we know that? Well, Roz is saying yes, but do we?
I can't answer that question, the building official will be able to answer that, but whether or not, this,
So what
based
we-
based upon the square footage of this building, how many spaces would be needed?
Yeah, because, Roz, am I right? It's the gallery, right? Mm-hmm. And what other business in that area? That's it.
In that particular lot,
Where is
that's
the law-
just the gallery building.
The law offices are,
The law offices are in the Sol Seabury House, that's on the corner. They have to have 10 spaces.
because I went by there Saturday, just so I could see what you were talking
I'm
about.
sorry?
I went by there on Saturday to look at the parking
Right,
spaces.
good.
So I know I saw those. But are those just the Meeting House? Because is that shared between all the other?
No, they're not shared. Shared is what the general commercial in Tiverton allows. These are all, this is not doubling up on any of the parking. This is every single space that is required by the Meeting House, by the Art Gallery building, by the Sol Seabury House, by the Benjamin Seabury House, and by the farm stand. They're all accounted for independently.
So these are just extra spaces, in a way?
Well, there are extra spaces, but that's not what we're discussing. We're just talking about the fact that the Meeting House has met its requirement for 33 spaces. It's not lacking for a single space that is required to have 130 people in that building.
That's correct, assuming that the art center, not the,
Yeah, we have to look at the Art Center's plan and see where they submitted.
I don't know how many parking spaces they would be allocated based upon the square footage, but if Ms. Weir is correct, she's indicating that there are extra spaces that she meets the parking for this independently, and then the other spaces that are excess can be used for the Meeting House.
The Art Gallery building needs 16 spaces.
16, yeah.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, there's 13.
Use your mic, Jay.
Okay, so
16 is
you own the meeting house.
I do.
Who owns the studio? You?
No, that's
Who owns
Charlie Barman.
the Gallery 4 building?
I do.
Okay.
These are 16.
You want to have, you say you're going to have between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. every day.
No, no.
That's what your application says.
Right.
The possibility of having concerts.
Yeah.
These other businesses operate 8 o'clock to 4 or 5, and they're going to need their parking spaces.
And they have them. They're all there.
Well.
And there's no
let me finish.
duplication.
So when you're having your concert, if you max out, where are the musicians parking? Where are your staff parking?
Well, as I've said, there are a lot more places
They're driving there, and
available.
they need parking spots.
Well, is that a requirement of the code that,
Well, parking is.
well, but
They're occupying.
for 130 people attending, the code requirement is that for every 4 seats, there is a parking space. That's what the code requires. That is what we've done. Now, there are a lot more spaces, and people who are coming there to be musicians or whatever, they're finding other spaces because, in point of fact, the concerts usually occur at times when, or often occur, not always. Sometimes they're afternoons on Sundays, but they often occur when nobody else is in some of the other buildings. So it hasn't been an issue. People find somewhere to park. They can even park across the street
No, they can't.
if they want to.
They
I mean,
can't,
if they
though.
want. No, but I'm just saying what is
Yeah, but the
required.
other businesses don't want them to do that.
The point is, they'll want to, and they will, and they're not supposed to. And we're not supposed to allow you to allow them to do it.
Well,
They'll also park in the Gray's Ice Cream, if we allow it, and we're not going to. So how do we deal with that? You
I
cannot use.
change the code.
You cannot use all of 4 corners for your overflow parking.
change the code then. The code
No,
requires
that's
that
not what
I
we're here
have.
tonight for.
I'm
We're here
sorry?
to- We're here tonight to figure out your parking. So
Yeah, and I've explained it.
And, well, but it doesn't, the numbers, I don't hear adding up. So if I look at the lots, the parking spaces closest to your building, that's 21. You know, the ones in the very front, the ones right adjacent to it, the ones around, the couple around the sides. The spaces that are on the north end of the gallery and abutting the gallery, I count 16, and that's what I believe we said that gallery needs, independent of.
Yes.
So you're in agreement with that?
Yeah, everybody, yeah, they've got 16, I've got 33, Dick Humphrey's got 10.
So, but I'm only seeing 21, and I'm not trying to be
I
difficult.
don't know where you're seeing 21, and I don't know what that number is coming from.
And this is
actually.
what John described. So if you count these spaces here, because there's nothing in front of the shed, right? You're not parking in front of the shed?
Yeah, there are 2 spaces there. It says 2 standard
Right,
spaces.
there's 1, 2, but right in front of the shed, no.
Right.
So 2 there, plus these, and these, and these. Right. Here, 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 here. That comes to 21. Right? That comes to 21?
Yeah, but
Would you agree with
adjacent,
that? You agree with that? This is adjacent, I counted it.
but it doesn't have to be adjacent. It can be on the adjacent parcel. The word adjacent doesn't mean they have to be right on the property line. It just means they have to be on the adjacent parcel.
Adjacent to the parcel, yes.
So it's,
Okay.
so
Okay.
21 isn't that.
All right, so
No,
just,
no, wait, hang on. This is 21 dedicated, so to speak, to your building.
for now.
Period.
Just
Just-
33.
No, Rob, please,
Okay.
follow me. Here's 21, correct?
Yes.
Well, there are actually only 12 on the parcel.
Okay. If you want to, I'm trying to help us get along here.
Right, I
If you
know.
don't want to cooperate with that, I'll just vote no.
But
will.
I don't understand what you're
Because
saying.
Madam President, come on.
You just want to go round and round.
No, he's fine.
I have done this for so many years.
Well, I haven't,
Yeah, okay.
okay? So would you agree that this is 21 spaces?
What you just counted is 21 spaces.
These here are 16. There are 16 spaces here
Okay.
that go to this building. Would you agree with that? That are independent for this building.
It could be, yeah.
Well, if they have to have 16 spaces and they're independent, and they need 16 independent spaces,
But see all the other spaces on that parcel, they could count for the 16 too. There are 13.
She's right, there's 60,
Okay.
right. So
There's
whether
16.
you use these or
Okay.
these, there's still.
okay, so there's 16. Let's
That's
just
my
say-
question, there's 16 up there and 16 down there, correct?
So wait.
I think there are 13 on this side, on the south side of the 3848 building, the art gallery building.
So these are 16 here.
Yeah.
okay? Are these spaces dedicated to, and again, let's just assume these are the 16 spaces they need. Who are these spaces dedicated to?
Anybody who wants to use them in any of
So
those
how many does
buildings,
this building need?
10.
They need 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Plus,
brings us to 30. It brings us to 30. Where are
Right.
the other 3?
He's also next door to, let's see, Charlie Barmondy's building has 5 spaces on it. That's the Arch Ceramics building.
but that's what they need.
There are 3 behind the Soul Savior. I don't know if you counted those.
No, I counted everything. I counted these, I counted this, I counted all yours in here. So you're saying this building here?
That counts too.
How many does he need?
He needs probably 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But his spaces can be across the way also, because he's not necessarily, none of the spaces has to be dedicated
Yes, it does.
to
But they
anyone.
have to have dedicated spaces that are on or adjacent to.
Right.
So right now, we counted 21 for you over here, counted 16, we counted, I think there are an extra, we were down to 3.
It's already
spaces.
is 3.
I know, and so I can't find 3 spaces. If he needs 5, there's 5 there. Where are your other 3 spaces that you think are there?
I know they're there because I've counted it so many times, but I'll have to look at it and show you by county. I can't do this right here. I've done this, I've even submitted a plan with all the spaces labeled by letter that go with every building.
So-
They are all there.
So let's just say you have 30 spaces. You can have 120 people. Right? Like if you have 30 spaces.
That would be the code, yeah.
All right. And you're asking for how many people?
130.
So 10 less.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
How do we determine how many spaces they need? Is it purely square footage of the building? It doesn't take into account what that business is?
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
It does. Well, the fire marshal gets involved. It has to do with, there's a whole,
The parking is determined by the use of the building.
Okay, so if
But-
it's
but-
something,
But this is this is considered a art center.
center.
So you base it on the square footage of the building, which is one spot for every 4 people of occupancy. So there's a maximum occupancy is 150? That's right. So that's how we determine.
but there isn't an,
and they stay there for a long time, whereas other, for a period of time, versus some of the other businesses that 1 or 2 people may run in and out so that the parking is changing,
Correct.
turning over. That's
I-
all taken into account?
yes.
Madam President, question for the building official. When you allocate these spaces, are you counting the handicap spaces as one of the required spaces?
We are.
So meaning if there's a standard space and a handicap space, we don't need to leave the handicap space open. The handicap goes into the formula?
That is correct.
So there are 39 spaces. If you count the building number 28 and you count 3848, that property, there's 39 left after you subtract out the 16. There's 55 spaces between those 2 properties. And if you subtract 16, which is the required number, apparently, I don't know why we don't have that information in front of us, what the required number is for 3848. But if there's 16 for it, then we have 39 spaces.
Yeah, but John, you're not counting this building.
It's not adjacent.
Okay, I gotta count again.
2 lots that collect by a corner are not adjacent.
No, and I don't count those as adjacent.
Really? It doesn't have to just...
Right, but, okay, so how about 3852?
Otherwise, you'd have
The law offices.
Yeah,
Where are their spaces?
You see behind the building, with a driveway off of East Road, you see 3 spaces there.
Okay,
You see 3 pulling up to the front of the building.
yep,
And then you see 13 down the side of the building that is 3848. And so they take 6 from,
but is that adjacent?
yep. They take 6 from the parcel they're sitting on, and then they take the additional 4.
Right,
So we've got
From-
35.
no. I think Mike explained, did last. Okay, so 3848 needs how many? 16. 3852 needs 10, you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have those numbers somewhere, what each building is required?
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been helpful. No offense to you, I'm sure you weren't asked, and I
No, we don't.
just got sworn in, so.
And in fact, it's like I said, because there are different uses here, okay, we're focusing solely on the occupant of the meeting house, which is obviously a more congested occupant load for that type of use. The parking use for office space, which I would,
But it would be on their
Fine.
license. It would be on their license application.
you say so. I haven't seen that document, so I don't know.
On the license application, when they want to be a business, they have to show us the parking plan. And the fire marshal and whoever needs to weigh in, weighs in on how many spaces they're allowed.
I believe,
Looking at me like I'm talking another language, but it is true. It is true, right, Mike?
Yes.
I believe it's all just based on the square footage of the building, because these are all retail, commercial,
Correct.
business, and
Correct.
all that has the same. The only one with an exception to that is the meeting house, because it's an assembly place, and also 3842, which is the little shop between the farm stand and
Okay.
that building, because there's a residence in that. So the residential requirements are slightly different from the
You're right.
requirements for all the other businesses. But everybody's got, on all these parcels, and I would be really happy to count them out again, but everybody's got their required amount of spaces independent of all the other businesses. And some people borrow from the guy next door, the adjacent parcel, in order to meet their requirement.
But you're not supposed to.
No, that is what the point of the adjacent is. That's what the point.
Yes, as long as that business isn't using those. As long as you don't, so
You
if they're
still have to
borrowing.
have your requisite number.
You still have to have your
You
requisite
can't
number
borrow-
independently of,
Right.
but you could use an adjacent to get to that requisite
Right.
number.
As long as you're borrowing from someone that already had, like suppose I have 15, but I only need 10. She can borrow 5.
Yeah, it's not clear that, it's not as clearly written like that, but that's generally how it's interpreted, yes.
There is a document that was submitted, that's on record in the town, easements, parking easements, among other things. So it's somewhere in the
But
town
what-
record about the, with all of the parking spaces, the
Yeah,
requirements
I
of the
know.
parking, and the borrowed parking, and the,
I've seen it.
yeah, so it's all there.
But John, you're right, we probably should have known exactly what these needed. And I am right to say when a new business comes to us,
No, I don't
we
dispute
say,
that fact.
if you're going to have 100 people there, we tell them what's required, and they send us a plot that has all of that.
What is, just because it's not clear in this, are we looking for 38 parking spaces?
No,
33.
We're looking for 33, so there's 35 parking spaces, if, assuming that 3814 needs 16, and that 3852 needs 10.
All right, so
There are
tell me-
35 parking spaces
I
there.
count 30.
So you have, if you look at building 28,
You want to
there-
do it on the big
Yep.
one so we can see? I'm not doubting you, it's just I only see 30.
The square footage is taken off the tax cards. So
Yeah.
the amount of usable space in a building determines how many parking spaces are going to be on the parcel.
you go, that's 12 and 4, so you have these 16 that go to this building, then you have 4 here, plus these 6. I mean, there's those 3 that go to this building, and then if you add this up,
But that's not adjacent. This is not adjacent.
That's not adjacent.
That's not adjacent. This is adjacent, but this is not. This lot,
So what are you saying is that
you're gonna be adjacent to the lot. This is not.
So really, it's 30.
So what I'm saying to you is, there's
This is-
13
this-
13 minus 4, that means it's 9 there. You've got 9 plus 3 is 12, plus the 6, plus the 3, plus the 2, plus the 8, plus the 2, plus the 2.
It's 30.
That's
30.
35.
No, it's 30.
Came out to 30.
Comes out to 30.
9 plus 3, 12, right? Plus 6 is 18.
John, we can't see what you're pointing at, so
Yeah,
it's
no.
kind of meaningless.
No, he's showing Mike.
Yeah.
18.
18.
Plus 3 is 21, 23.
Show
Then
us
you've got
eventually.
8 right here. So that's 31, plus 4 is 35. If you have to count, that's why I asked the question about the handicap
Yeah,
spaces.
you're not counting that. Get that.
So Mike, is it the lot that's adjacent or the parking
John,
spots?
do you agree with what we're counting here?
The lot needs to be adjacent.
You said 30 was all he had.
No, you said more.
33.
33.
Oh, that's John, I'm sorry.
33.
Okay. That's the 16.
That's what I have.
While they're counting, Roz,
Hold on right now. It's 35. There's 35 spaces.
it says right here, if you look at what he wrote. She needs 38 anyway.
I need 38? I'm sorry?
She said she needed 33, but it's 35.
I need 33.
Okay, so look at this, the minimum parking space needed is 38
For
Where does it say
150.
that?
for 150, so you want 130. Is that correct? Okay.
130 is all I've, but the building will hold 150, but I don't want that. I don't need that.
So John,
So you think 130 is the max that you would?
That is all I would ever allow or want in that.
so John,
And there are a number
how
of
many
reasons
do
for
you
that.
think is there? Since you're the building inspector,
Okay, well, we can do the math one more time.
okay?
Okay? I base this on what I got.
Right, and go over with us where you're looking at it.
Okay, so again, according to the land surveyors,
Okay.
I'll hold the map.
okay,
And then John, if you disagree, just chime in.
Yeah.
I counted 21 here,
Yep.
okay? Dedicated to her.
And that's including the handicap.
So that's these here,
Okay.
okay? Including these. Now we have 3 here, well, we'll count 2 because that was on her property. So as far as the 2 and 5 is 7, 7 more is 14, 4 more is 18, 19, 20, 21, and 13 is 34.
But my question is, you didn't subtract what that business needs.
That's why I circled the spaces.
Right, that's why we came up with a total count for adjacent. I was counting as the 2 properties.
Right,
the
but
ones
you
that are big.
can't just do that because the gallery needs 16, so where are you getting 16 if you give her all those?
I'm not giving her all those. I'm just trying to come up with a total amount for the ones that might qualify for the shared or the adjacent parking spaces on those 2 properties.
Right, but what we're saying is, when all the businesses are open
Yep.
and they have the required parking spaces they need free, how much does she have?
Circle them off and then count whatever's left.
So if the gallery needs 16 and the law offices need 10, that's 26 that you have to subtract.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm following you, yeah.
So do they have 26 and she still has 33?
26 and 33 is, again, if we're counting the law offices now.
Yes.
Okay, 26 and 33 is
There's,
59.
Okay.
59.
if you
And so
count,
how many spaces?
I'm counting 69.
Okay.
if you count all the adjacent spaces, it's 23 spaces, not 21.
No.
There's,
Including the
you-
handicap, right?
yeah, if the handicap counts as a space, which we count,
Does count as a space.
right? So if you look at building 28, just to the north of it, and by the abandoned well, there's 2 standard spaces. Just to the left of it, there's a standard space and a handicap space. So you get 4 spaces there. Then you've got the 2 and the 3 on the other side of the abandoned well. Then you've got the 6 and then the 8, including the 1 handicap spot. There's 23 spaces. So if we've got 23 just right there that are supposedly dedicated to the property, you know, what are we going to come up with in order to get to the 33 that she needs?
10.
Yeah, which there is, because you've got 9 on the adjacent lot out of that 13, and then there's another 3. So we've actually got 12 additional spaces that aren't accounted for in either of those other 2 buildings. So I'm not really not sure what we're talking about here.
Okay, so,
Counting those.
so 1, 2, so there's the abandoned well, John.
There's
So there's 3 there?
there's
1,
three
2,
there's 3 abandoned wells. Yep.
There's 2 on the other side. There's 5 there.
There's 5, but then if you go to the right, there's 2 spaces just to the north of the, number
So that's
28
7.
building.
So that's 7.
And then there's 2 to the left of it, the 1 handicapped and 1 standard.
Okay.
Yep, I missed
All right, that's what we needed to know. All
Okay.
right. All right. So
So
that's
there's-
23.
So there's 35, so the occupancy could be 140. Assuming that 16 go to 38, 48, and
Yeah,
10 go to the other building.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19,
Yeah.
20.
So John, you counted 33, and Councilor Edwards has counted 35. Do you agree with Councilor Edwards, there's 35 now?
I will agree, and again, not only because, the property line doesn't really exist when you look at it as
Oh, I know.
in its entirety.
I know.
Okay, so 2 here is the difference between 31 and 33, 33, 35. So again, in all told, there are these amount of spaces on these 2 properties, and if, again, I have not had an opportunity to review the makeup of this particular building because the square footage requirement is based on net square usable.
But it will be on their license. how many
If
days.
that's the case, then we'll have
And
a
I
definite
kind
number.
of think that Roz probably knows this by heart because she's been through this for years. And I know those businesses, so that makes sense, 10 and 16.
Are there provisions in the ordinance for businesses that operate at different times? So I'm assuming, I know that your,
No, there isn't.
no, because your request is for, it says every day, but you're mostly doing these on weekends and evenings, correct?
Miscellaneous weekends, evenings, yeah.
Because you really wouldn't do it on a Tuesday morning.
Probably not.
When-
If there was
which-
a workshop or a class or something.
But that would
Which-
be different to me.
Yeah, which is when
That's
the
not the
attorney's office would be, so it's too bad the ordinance doesn't.
Okay, so my next question is, when do the gallery, I don't know if you know this, but you probably do, and the law offices, when do they close? What is their business hours?
More or less 5.
5? But you want to do this sometimes before 5, the entertainment
Sometimes a
piece?
Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon for a concert. I can think of a couple of exables.
Okay.
You're gonna find a lawyer on a Sunday.
No,
Yeah, the lawyer will be closed for sure. So the lawyer will be closed for sure. Because we could tell her that she can only do it from a certain time to a certain time, so that there's not a lot of congestion there.
Yes, you have the ability to.
And
Prescribe them
if she
hours.
does it on the weekends, like Joe said, you're gonna have a hard time finding a lawyer open on Saturday and Sunday.
right, so all of his spaces are free.
All his spaces are free. I'm worried during the week, but during the week, you're not gonna have a band playing on a Tuesday afternoon, I doubt. You might have a work.
Unless it was a children's something.
Right, but but
During
it's
the
not
summer
the
or
huge
vacation.
entertainment we're talking, well, it's not huge entertainment, but it's not the main focus of it's not the 130 people coming for
No,
a
and that's
band.
rare, that would be rare too, but.
Okay,
Madam President,
I just want, okay, go ahead.
quick question, because this obviously happened at the last meeting. Do we have to do the public comment piece?
I
or is
already
that
did.
All right, so we're done?
We're done. I
With
just
that
want to
part?
make sure that the council, does anyone else have questions? Yeah, Mike?
So, Roz, thank you. I know that was challenging. And thank you, John. I did miss those 2 additional spots. So I am comfortable with the parking piece, and I would just suggest, Roz, would you be comfortable with, say, on Sundays and Saturdays, a 12 o'clock start or a 10 o'clock start, and then on the weekdays, maybe a 4 or 5? Because this is just for the entertainment. This is not for the rest of.
So this
your
wouldn't
work.
be the workshop, right? This wouldn't be story time if you did something like that. This would just be for
I mean,
the,
that's probably okay, but if some isolated group comes in and wants to do a music lesson for kids, I don't want to have to come back here and say, oh, you know, the band from Providence wants to be here at 10 in the morning. That's the whole point of these elongated hours, is just that I don't think you want, nor do I want to be in here every time some little different thing happens. I mean, you know for the last 35 or almost 40 years now how this has been run, and it really hasn't got out of hand. You know, I think that there is a precedent for believing that the art center and the performing arts aren't, you know, wild and frenzied.
That's what they said about Woodstock.
but I would say that the 130, just work with me here, the 130 people events would be more at nighttime.
That would definitely be easy to surmise.
Right.
It could be after the Amicable Fun Run.
I mean, we have had concerts, you know, classical concerts that have attracted 100 people on a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
You know, but then Dick Humphrey's office is closed. You know,
Madam President?
Yes, John.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the license for the Four Corners Arts Center, Rosalind Weir, 28 East Road, Plat 706, Lot 111, AKA 3850 Main Road, subject to meeting all legal requirements, with the caveat that occupancy is not to exceed 140 persons.
Do I have a second?
So her request was.
Her request was for 130.
It's 130.
We set the limit to 140, that's the number of spaces we counted. Multiply it by 4, 35 times 4 is 140. The building holds 150, it's happy medium.
The building holds 150 as an art center, not with people sitting in chairs.
Right.
She said she only wanted 130 anyway.
So
Yeah,
she's
I
only
think
going to
we
use
should-
130, I mean.
I think we should go the 130, but that's just my opinion. She's asking for 130, so.
I'll second it for the fact of conversation.
All right, so the next thing, so you have all of this scheduled now, right?
that's an approximation because.
Okay, but the times for most of these would be
I don't know, the times.
Redfish,
That's going to be maybe an evening one.
yeah, Newport Street Quartet, that could be Saturday
That I think
afternoon.
is going to be in the afternoon.
Yeah. The 40 band, Saturday. You wanted to do 130, you said that was,
1:30 was,
you wouldn't do more than 130, you feel
I
that?
don't want to do more
Okay.
than 1:30.
All right.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to amend the original motion to a capacity of 130.
I will second that.
All right. Any,
Mike, for the sake of time, can I just accept the amendment?
yes.
Okay, I accept the amendment to
wait a minute.
130.
You got to vote on it.
I think
We
I
gonna vote on it?
Don't I?
Yeah, it's
Well,
easy to vote on.
he's withdrawing, technically he's
Oh.
withdrawing his withdrawing.
Well, he can
accepting it.
withdraw his,
You're withdrawing it, right? Accepting, if you're accepting the amendment, you're withdrawing
that's fine.
yours.
as long
I
as you're
disagree, but I'm
withdrawing
not
it.
going to argue.
Okay.
So, yes, so then the motion on the floor, just so we're aware, is to approve the entertainment license, cap of 130. Okay.
And John, you agree with the spaces now? You got that in your head?
I do.
Did that make sense to you now? And there is yeah, because your seating is 130, the way you counted out. Okay. If everyone looks at this, that's the seating for 130. All right, so I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? So the motion is for 130 to grant an entertainment license to Four Corners Art Center Meeting House. Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous. It took you a long time. Thank you, but we got through it. You might not feel that way, but.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
John, where's John? You, at some point, you want to just sit here because isn't there At some point, we have to talk about a couple of these licenses,
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay. The board,
Mike, seconded by Janick.
okay,
Deb Janick, second, 100.
Board of Licenses, discussion and possible vote. Bagdresh Patel, I'm gonna mess up these names so badly. Nahina State Line Tobacco, 29 Stafford Road. Request approval for tobacco dealer and holiday license, subject to meeting all legal requirements. Is this continued from last week? Is this a different one?
No, this is different.
This is a different one. This is where, right at the center, where the hairdresser was on the side.
Yep, State Line Tobacco.
Yes, okay. Any questions? This is a current license.
Madam President?
Yes.
Motion to approve the State Line Tobacco, 29 Stafford Road, tobacco dealer and holiday license.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
There's
Okay.
typo there. It's I don't know if this is important, but it's then any and instead of any H.
No, we can just fix it.
We'll fix that.
We'll fix that. Congrats, you're all set. All right, so as you see, I have a lot of advertised public hearings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do each section, and Mike, I don't think I have to, I can say as listed, is that correct? Okay, so each section I have to open the public hearing.
Open until we close it.
Okay, so I can open it right now and then go through it. Okay, B, junkyard and secondhand dealer license. Do I have a motion to approve all those that are listed?
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and second. Anyone in the audience, would you like to comment on these 5 licenses? Anyone like to comment? Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Liquor license renewals, Class A liquor stores, $1,000. We have 3 listed. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Council Edwards, second by the other Council Edwards.
Figure that one out.
Anyone in the audience like to make? Yeah.
Counselor Jay.
Councilor Jay and Councilor John. Anyone in the audience would like to comment on these 3 licenses? Anyone in the audience like to comment? So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Class BV full liquor license, $800. There are
15.
There are 15. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Yes?
No, when you're ready
Okay.
for discussion.
Anyone in the audience like to talk about these? Have anything to say on the 15 that are listed? Anyone in the audience? Okay, motion's been made and second. All those in favor?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to do discussion?
So on a couple things. First.
Oh, that's right.
The Red Dory, I don't know if anybody's here from the Red Dory, but there are 2 tip certifications that show it has expired among the staff. I'm assuming that they're in the process. Buddies and Brothers, they have a request. We might want to take this separately for a 2 a.m. closure. And the Sports Kitchen, first floor, should be beer and wine only, because that's what we approved last time we did this. And we were specific that it was beer and wine only on the first floor.
Okay, so the Red Dory,
It's more informational.
okay. So I think what we're going to do is, can I have a motion to pull Everett Lane and the Sports?
Not Everett Lane, Sports Kitchen and Buddies and Brothers.
Okay,
So moved.
a motion to pull those off. Do I have a
Which
second?
ones, all 3 of
14 and
those?
15, just 14 and
Just
15.
just not the Dory?
Just so.
So I'll remove
There's a-
I'll remove my first motion,
Okay.
make a new motion to approve items
1 through 13.
1 through 13 under whatever license group that is.
Class BV full
Class
liquor.
BV full liquor license. That's my motion, to approve 1 through 13.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. So the sports kitchen. So you saying that that's,
So the sports kitchen, when we approved the downstairs, I don't know, maybe last April, May, something like that, we were specific to beer and wine sales only on the first floor, and that other liquor should not be coming down to the first floor from the upstairs. So I would make a motion to approve that license with the stipulation that only beer and wine be served and
drink,
imbibed on the first floor.
which was what we approved about 6 months ago, whenever we did that. Any discussion about that? Is anyone here from the sports kitchen? I don't think so. Okay. So motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? Did I get a second to your motion?
Deb did, I think.
I did.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
And for Buddies and Brothers, I'm not sure how we want to proceed. Their request is to move their closing time, which I assume is 11 now. I don't think it says on the document, to 2 a.m.
So I think we moved, when the casino came into town, we moved the requirements of when people have to close. And I think we made it at 1. Am I wrong or right? Or did we make it for 2?
I thought it was, we talked about that for somebody else, and we said it was 1.
Right, I think it's before you came, Deb, that we did
No,
that.
yeah, I know, but I think that we talked about it with
So it's
another.
not, I don't
business.
know what other establishment is open till 2. We have to look at the ordinance to see what time they have to close. Is that what you're doing, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the casino is 2, but I think it's specific.
The ordinance says they can be 2.
To the casino license, I think it's specific to ordinance.
On weekdays and nights before holidays.
It's
That's it.
2, that's it. I believe all other businesses close at 1. Mark, so the other nights, it's 1? Yeah. Yeah,
We're in business with the state of Rhode Island here. They can do whatever they want.
yeah, but the establishments in town cannot
10
serve.
a.m. to 1 a.m. all
Yes.
license B through C.
Right, so there's no other establishment that stays till 2 a.m.
Oh, sorry, and Sundays not before state or federal holidays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays before state or federal holidays, so there is an exception.
2 p.m. or 2
2
a.m.?
So 2 a.m. is for what?
Monday through Thursday, and on Sundays not before state or federal holidays, and from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays before state or federal holidays. All other times are 1.
Okay.
With those exceptions.
So last Wednesday, it could have been 2 a.m., but not on Friday.
Correct.
Okay?
Last Wednesday was the
This is what makes my mind jumble all the time. So that's what we should allow Buddies to do, per what?
I would just say that the license conform to
6-2,
ordinance 6-2,
subsection C.
subsection C. So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Class BVL limited liquor license, there's 4. Would anyone in the audience like to talk about these 4? Do I entertain a motion?
Motion to approve the Class BVL licenses.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Class B2, bed and tavern, there's 1. It's a senior lifestyle, Secunda Bay. Anyone in the audience have any comments? Okay,
Motion to approve Class B BT licenses.
do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Class D unlimited club licenses. Bayview, Holy Ghost, and as listed, I'm sorry. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this?
Move approval of Class D unlimited club license.
Second.
All those in favor? Class BC, that's the casino. Anyone in the audience? I know Mark's here, you don't have anything. Okay.
Motion to approve Class BC casino licenses.
Do I have a second?
Second, but a comment.
Go ahead.
So Mark, you have, and this may have been taken care of, you have 6 expired alcohol certs and 2 new hires that don't have certs as of when you applied.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Indoor shooting range renewal. Anyone in the audience like to say anything or comment on this? Yes. You can come right up to the microphone. State your name and address, please.
My name is Brett McQuail. I live on 15 Hobson Ave, Tiverton. I just wanted to say that my wife, Amri, and I moved here about a year and a half ago. And basically, we've been loving it here. Everything's been great. And we noticed that there was a shooting range nearby. Didn't have a problem with that. And then I started to notice, I hear the gunshots, not only outside the house in the yard, but in my living room. Granted, they're muffled, but I can hear them, and especially if they're in a rapid succession. And it was something that I was hoping to just ignore, but my wife is a little more sensitive than I am, and she really started to notice them, and it kind of bothered her. And so basically this went on for a while. We weren't sure really what to do. And then we noticed that they were happening more often, including Friday night. I believe it was around 9 o'clock, still hearing gunfire coming from the shooting range, and I found it to be a little disturbing to hear that on my street, hear it inside my own house. We plan on having children within the next year, and it's just, it's a little bit disturbing to live in what feels like a nice neighborhood and then to hear gunfire, granted that it's muffled, coming from so close to our house. So I just wanted to voice that concern to you tonight. Thank you.
Now, it seems like within the recent few months, we've had more complaints about that. And I don't know if the new owners are they here? There you are. I don't know if they...
I would like to say something.
Well, why don't you come up?
All right.
Okay. State your name and address.
Paul Malu, 7632 Midwood Drive, North Charleston, South Carolina. My mom's a Tiverton resident. I'm here on her behalf. She couldn't make it. She's a little elderly. I'm a lifetime member at Secundit River Outfitters. Everything they do is safety. I spent 30 years in the U.S. Army, and there's nothing more to me than gun safety, and that's where it happens right there.
Well, I don't think that safety is in
Right, and safety and gunfire. I served in Iraq. You don't know what gunfire sounds like. So that's all I have to say.
But the safety...
Sir, does your mother live nearby
Yes, sir.
to that gunshot? Okay. Has she heard it? Do you know?
No.
All right.
Where does she live?
She lives in, no, she doesn't live close to Hancock.
Okay, yeah, that's way on the other side of town.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she couldn't speak to what their concerns are?
No.
Okay.
But I've actually slept in my truck in that parking lot, and that was...
Okay.
I don't want to know why. The owner's right there.
Yeah, and her husband?
And her husband. When we first granted this license to Mr. LeBeau years ago, the neighbors were very concerned on whether or not they would hear it. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't have any complaints until recently. Are you doing anything different? Are the doors open? Is it different caliber? Because somebody told me it depends on what's being shot. Hi.
Hi. There's nothing being
Address.
different. I'm the owner.
Okay.
There's nothing being done differently there than since Randy opened it. We haven't changed anything. The hours,
The hours are a little different.
not really.
Well, yeah. We
No.
just granted
We
you
just
a more,
granted
yeah.
You did,
We
but I
granted
haven't been, besides about 3 Sunday evenings, we haven't done anything with that. Except for we've had a couple of trainers in for classroom time in the morning, and that's it. We haven't allowed larger guns, we haven't allowed more guns or more people in there. We only have a certain amount of lanes. Rapid fire is probably just different people shooting at the same time. You can't avoid that. We've had an impeccable safety record there.
We're not questioning
safety
that.
at all.
The neighbors are concerned about the noise they're hearing.
Right, and I referenced this last time I was here, that Randy had a DB check done there, and it passed with flying colors. If you'd like, we'll do another one.
It's just curious. I'm just curious, am I all of it, like, because.
Because guns are more divisive now than they ever have.
I haven't heard anybody say anything. In fact, that gentleman said he doesn't have a concern about guns as a whole. I don't have concern about guns as a whole.
Except for when you move next
I killed my first
to
deer
them.
at age 13.
Right,
Okay, so let's not argue about safety or what people think about guns. These folks and other folks live in that area.
Yep.
And the noise and the.
Nobody forced them to buy a house next to commercial property.
Whoa.
Well, first of all, a lot of these people have been there forever, okay?
And unless there's other people up here that would like to speak that have been living there forever,
People do
let
not
them
need to
come up
come
and
to
talk.
meetings.
But
Other people can send us emails
that
too.
gun shop has been there for over 7 years now, and there hasn't been any complaints
Madam
up
President?
until lately. We're not doing anything different there.
Yes, Mike?
So at the last hearing, when the majority of the council extended the hours, they were extended to, there used to be 12 PM start on Monday through Friday, and they were extended to open at 9 AM. And your testimony was that you would only be doing classroom instruction at that time. Is that what is happening?
That's correct.
Okay. And then they were extended on Saturdays and Sundays to open at 9 AM, but that time would be shooting time as well.
That was never extended. Those were the original hours.
No,
And we
okay.
don't open until 10 on Saturday.
10
I have the
a.m.?
minutes from the last time we were here.
So, I'm sorry, you're right on Sunday. 10 AM was your start time on Saturday. We extended that to 9 AM. You may not have done it.
Never did
but
it.
Okay. So, and then on Sunday nights, it was 5 to 9 PM, and your testimony was that it would only be occasionally for shooting competitions.
Correct.
Okay, and 9mm or less handguns?
Yep.
And that's all that's happening?
That's it.
Okay.
Nobody
Madam
is-
President?
Yes.
I have a question. I can't recall who said it on the council, but it was intimated that there were other concerns, but I don't see any additional backup.
It was another meeting. It was another meeting, John, that they came, that a few more neighbors came and talked to us. It was
one.
It was when we extended the hours.
When we extended it, different than this.
It was the same lady that complained when Randy when he
Right.
built the place. So you're going to see the same complaints from the same people year after year. Every time we come in to renew our license, we've got to deal with this.
Well, first of all, that is absolutely not true.
It is true.
No, this is the first time that we've pulled this license out because of this. And at the time,
Isn't this our renewal?
this is your renewal.
So what do you mean you pulled it out? I
Last
don't-
year, we didn't pull it out. You came back to this council for
Yep.
the extended
Right.
hours.
And that's why it was
Last
discussed.
November, it went through no problem.
No problem.
Right.
Then you came back in April,
Yep.
and there was discussion.
Right.
There was some testimony because you wanted to change the hours. That council voted, approved that. And now
Yeah.
you're here, and it was pulled out this time. And we did the holiday license just so we could deal with them both at the same time. But this is the only time that it's been pulled.
We also got a letter last time, too, from someone other than who was, a couple of people, rather than who was here. I just don't, you're acting like we're attacking you, and we're not.
Well, it's hard not to feel that way.
I saw your post on Facebook today that said everybody come and support us because the left-wing council is going to stop us.
I didn't write that.
Well, somebody did. So we're not, I voted for the gun range years ago. I'm not against it, but we just have to be kind to our neighbors, just like they have to live with you also, you have to live with them. And their concerns, it shouldn't be so hostile.
If you talk to any of our immediate neighbors, you're going to find that we are a good neighbor and that we'll do anything for them. Nobody else has complaints except for people that live half mile away.
Madam President?
Yes.
Do we have police records of these complaints? I mean, is there some substantiation to this? Because
Last time, John, we asked the police to go to make sure that they weren't doing what they shouldn't be doing for their extended hours. And they said no, that they were doing fine.
So the police department gave us the thumbs up.
The emails that you will get, some neighbors occasionally will email us on this. And I just wanted to know, is there any, like, I'm asking
Not
a
a
good
thing.
question.
We didn't
Are
do
you doing
anything
anything different? Are the doors open? That's what I wanted to know.
Are you more busy, so there's more?
Possibly,
You're busier,
yes.
maybe,
Yeah.
okay. I just wanted to make sure because that was a big thing with Randy, was that the doors were going to stay closed, and
Absolutely, they
when
have
the doors
to.
opened,
They have to. It's an enclosed circulation system, and they have to stay closed.
Right, that's what he said. Neighbors do have some concerns about the gun shots, and I just wanted, and this is a public hearing, and you heard a neighbor say that. Did you want to say something else?
I just wanted to also say, because
just come up,
they're not here tonight, but we also spoke to the neighbors across the street before we came here, just to read on them if there was, because they've been living on that same street.
How close are you to that building?
500 feet.
And so, talking to my 7-year-old neighbor, he said that he's been living on that same street where his father lived before him his whole life. And he said that when they put in that gun range, that the surrounding residents were promised that they wouldn't hear it. And he said that they heard it from day one, and he never did anything about it. But, I mean, he's not here tonight, sadly. But, and look, I want you to understand that I don't have a problem with this.
With guns or with the safety issue, well, I understand that. It is
I'm just
true.
raising because I'm just concerned because it's impacting my life and will impact the life of my children that I have. So.
Can I just say
make a
something?
comment here?
Yeah, of course you can.
One gentleman mentioned that he served in Iraq and they don't know what gunfire sounds like. Well, I did too. They shouldn't have to. If they want to watch it on TV in their living room, that's one thing. They should not have to live with it.
Okay.
Let me finish.
No, I got you.
Wait.
You know what?
No, please do not yell. Please
It's
do
as
not
simple as
yell.
that.
Okay.
So, now, the other issue is, if they're 500 feet away, in their house, this is winter, so the windows are closed, I don't think they should be hearing it at all.
Do you agree?
To me, something has changed.
How old is the house? I mean, we could go round and round with this. Is the house insulated well? Because our shop is.
All right,
I mean, that's what I mean. We can
Madam
go round and round on this.
all right. Okay, Deb, go ahead.
So,
I'm going to let you speak, Joe. I'm going to have Deb speak.
So I was not on the council when Randy opened, but I know that it was a full house here. I was very surprised when you came and it was a transfer of license. There was not a soul here to talk about that. And then when you came to extend your hours, again, we might have heard a little bit. But one of the things that I do recall, you wanted to expand your hours a little bit earlier in the morning, more like classroom, gun safety, which I know that's a big part of your business, and then a little bit into the evening. And we talked about different types of guns or different types of firing later into the evening so that it would not be as loud. And I don't know if is that something that you could do?
So when we talked about that, that was referencing the Sunday evening competition shoots that I wanted to host. And I gave the council my word that nobody there would be shooting anything higher than a pistol caliber. No rifles of any kind.
I remember that.
And I held true to that. There's
That's what I was
there's no
wondering.
rifles allowed on our competitions on Sundays. As for what people bring in, I can't control that. If you want me to stop people from bringing in rifles to suit a few neighbors and I don't make my mortgage, how is that fair?
Is there any way to maybe add something inside of the building that could
There could be, yeah.
muffle?
There could be.
Kind of suppress it a little bit?
There's probably some more insulation that could be hung. There's probably some, I was gonna do it.
Right.
Insulation, rubber mats can be hung on the back walls. That would help muffle it some more.
Okay.
And you're willing to do that?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm asking. Okay, we're getting good here. All right.
But when letters get sent to you guys, I don't know anything about them. How can I address them?
Right. Well, that's why we're addressing it with you tonight, because we knew there was I thought there were going to be a couple more neighbors here. But no, if that's what I was saying, if you're willing to help out a little bit.
Absolutely.
And if they still hear it, well, you're doing the best you can. That's all I was asking for, some level of, no one's attacking your business. I've been on the council ever since it went there. It's been safe, well-run. You haven't changed the way you run it. There's been no complaint about you since you bought it. It's just the noise, that's all it is. So no one's attacking your business. I voted for it then, and I still support it. But if we can help the noise a little bit, if you're willing to work a little bit with that, then that would be good. Okay, John?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I just have a couple of quick comments, and then I will shut up so we can move on with this. Number one, and I'm assuming you have the ordinance open, and that's was going to be my question, is this discussion around noise and that sort of thing, how is any of that germane to what we are talking about with this specific?
They have to comply with the noise ordinance. So in other words, there's a decibel level that they can't exceed.
Okay, that's exactly what I was looking for.
We've checked that before.
Yeah, that's precisely it. And then secondly, this is our annual reminder that the town of Tiverton should not be in the business of licensing shooting ranges. It opens us up to an incredible amount of liability should something happen in the range. So just want to put that one out there as well. And I just want to make sure that when we do make the motion, we include the holiday license so that we can move on. And the final point, as it relates to gun noise, I grew up right around the corner here on South Ave. Literally anywhere in this town, you can hear the Rod and Gun Club. And we're here accosting a business with baffles, with every step taken to make sure that there isn't noise, coming outside of it, and it's a pressurized room. So I'm just a little confused because, if we're gonna berate this business about their noise, I think we should be talking the same thing with the Rod and Gun Club as well.
Well, the Rod and Gun Club is here, is on this agenda. I've just asked if anybody would like to speak, and we're not getting complaints about it. As far as, we have spoke to the Rod and Gun Club in the past, and they have been helpful trying to alleviate some of the noise. They actually, I think they bought a parcel where they're not, like a buffer once. That was a long time ago.
I mean, I live abutting Chabot Marsh, and the second, hunting season comes around, it's like Vietnam in the backyard. So, it's part of the rural character of this town.
Same thing where I live. Joe?
Yes, Madam President, I know somebody who lives 200 feet from the gun shop. Not a problem, don't have a problem. Another thing is, I live a mile from Route 24, and I hear the cars all night long. We're going to stop cars from going on 24?
That's a specious argument.
I do agree, Joe, absolutely. There are some neighbors that hear it, so if he's willing to.
Sure, I'll spend more money.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. And I do know they have checked the decibel outside.
And they're welcome to come back and do it again. And I would like to welcome everybody on the board to come and shoot at my range. My treat.
I've been down there.
We couldn't take up the treat.
Yeah, we couldn't do the treat. That would be a bribe.
Okay, well, come on and pay then.
So, anybody else have anything else to say? Mike?
Two things. One, yes, we live in a rural community, but this is not in the rural part of town. And I'm sorry, with all respect, Joe, traffic noise is very different than the noise that is being talked about by those who are exercising their right to express their concerns and opinions. I would ask that we take the two items separately, so I would make a motion that we approve first the indoor shooting range renewal for Tiverton Rod and Gun Club, 1529 Fish Road.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience would like to say anything about the Tiverton Rod and Gun? Motion's been, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous, I believe. I'd like to entertain a motion for Secana River Outfitters. East Bay Ammunition.
Madam President?
Yes, John.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewal for East Bay Ammunition LLC, DBA Secana River Outfitters, not just for the shooting range, but also for the holiday license, which was previously pulled by Councilor Burk.
Yes.
Yep. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. So I think that, can we put kind of, that we'll work with you to try to check on decibel levels again, see if there's anything that we can do to alleviate their noise. I mean, I don't want to vote no to not approve your license because that's your livelihood, and we definitely don't want to take that away from you. We want to support your business.
I'd like to recommend that you come and do it on our busiest time.
The decimal and all that.
When would that be?
Saturdays, Sundays.
During the day?
During the day, yeah.
Do you think that that's more busy than you have at night?
Unless it's a Friday night.
Because I think that's what a lot of the complaints are around the nighttime. You know, it gets quieter in their homes and they hear that too. Or are you hearing that you're hearing at different times?
It definitely makes a difference whether it's during the day and there's cars on main roads that help muffle the sound of gunshots. In the evening, the cries of the city die down and you just hear the gunshots.
Somebody in the back? Two people in the back?
Yes, would other people like to talk?
I don't hear the noise. I'm a Hobson Avenue resident, and I don't really hear the gunshots.
All right. If you're going to speak, you need to come to the microphone and state your name and your address, just for the record.
Vicky Doobie. I live at 75 Hobson Avenue. I don't really hear gunshot noise from the range.
Great, thank you.
It does peripherate from the Rod and Gun Club.
Okay.
Sometimes, every now and then, but I don't think it's coming from that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Would someone else in the back like to speak?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jeffrey Gross. I live on Stafford Road. I'm a writer for Rhode-IslandNewsToday.com and New England Outdoors. Just as an FYI, because you caught my attention when you said we're here to approve or deny the gun range license. The gun ranges in our state are protected by the Second Amendment. That was determined by the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals in 2017 that gun ranges cannot be shut down. So you swearing upon your oath tonight to protect the Constitution, it is your obligation to vote in favor of this license.
We don't have to approve the license. Mike, would you like to say something on that comment?
Well, first of all, we're in the First Circuit, not the Seventh Circuit, so that makes a big difference. And second of all, we do have the authority to license, and we have had the authority to licenses, and we set objective criteria which they have to meet, including the sound. So if they were to violate the sound ordinance, we would have grounds to.
Right, but that hasn't been determined yet.
Correct.
And also, if their license is denied, then they're shut down, are they not?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, then you have an obligation. And if their noise violation doesn't
Our
exist.
lawyer is saying that that's untrue. So,
All I'm
thank
saying
you.
is that we can license them. We have license like we license every other business in the city, town, and that I'm not aware of the Seventh Circuit opinion that you're talking about. Rhode Island is in the First Circuit until this.
Yeah, and what goes for the second, for the first, also goes for the seventh. And we will be seeing this at the U.S. Supreme Court.
Then it would apply to all
If and when the
circuits.
Supreme Court takes it up, then whatever they decide is what goes for the nation. But we don't go by the Seventh Circuit.
Okay, for the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I make a comment? You know,
Go ahead.
I hope nobody's getting the idea that our purpose here is to not license this Secana River Outfitters. That's not what we're talking about here at all. What we're doing here is, we got a citizen's concern. We're bringing it to everybody's attention. Now, you can either accept it or poo-poo it. I don't care what you do with it. I think they do. We've done our job. We have brought it to your attention. And I think when we bring it to your attention, what you should understand is, okay, it's on the radar. We are going to pay attention.
Talking to me?
Yes.
I'm talking to everybody in the room. So, yes, if we continue to get complaints, we're going to discuss it some more. But, as Deb said, this is your livelihood, this is your business. We're not here to take it away, but we can control it. And if we find it necessary, we will.
Is that, really?
Yes.
Is that like some kind of threat or something?
We can make you
Oh, my God, we're turning this into something that it certainly is not.
Madam President.
So, go ahead.
Based on the Elder Edwards' comments, I call the question.
There's no motion.
There's no motion.
Yeah, there's a motion to.
Oh, I'm sorry, there is. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
I would just want to note that I will be voting no, only because.
That's no surprise.
Madam President, when we
sorry.
call the question, we have to vote.
Yeah,
I'm
but he
sorry.
has the right to
Excuse
say
me.
why he's voting.
He's right, but I'm still going to say it. Because last time when this was before us, I voted no for the extended hours. If we were here for the original hours, I'd be happy to vote yes.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion on the floor to grant the license. All those in favor? Against? Okay. All right, thank you.
That was both, right? The holiday sales and?
Yes.
Correct, that was my motion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's hope this goes. Approval of entertainment license. There's 13.
Had to come up with something cute for it. We got
That's right.
Approval of entertainment license. Yes, we're going to. Approval of entertainment license, there's 13 of them. Buddies and Brothers are on there again, and I don't remember if they're saying 2 AM. If it's a
Good
specific.
question.
What's the question, I'm sorry?
Buddies,
and Brothers saying 2 AM for their entertainment license.
because it has to be according to the ordinance.
They do karaoke.
Well, what I'm saying,
But
one
that's,
is fine,
but
but
that's,
the two.
but that's probably,
So, 10E,
I could check too, I'm just getting aggravated.
which one are they? They're all the way down.
Yeah, they're way down.
This one,
I don't remember, it just hit me.
I don't see 2 AM for this one, no.
Okay, all right.
Which is odd, but.
Okay. Anyone in the audience would like to talk about these 13 licenses? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the approval of the entertainment licenses on all under item E 1 through 13.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Mobile home, park licenses. We're going to do this one by one, and there's a reason for it. Dotson Motor Homeowner Association, DBA Dotson Mobile Estates, 301 Bulgarmarsh Road. John, do you have a comment on this one?
We do have a comment. Prior to my coming here a year and a half ago, there's been an ongoing issue with the septic systems at Datsun Estates. They've been cited by the Department of Environmental Management over a year and a half ago. They have not taken any action whatsoever to abate that issue.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it is a septic issue, it is out of the jurisdiction of the building department. It is entirely under the jurisdiction of the Department of Environmental Management. So my hands are tied as far as what I can do. is what this office can do. So if there's any action that the council could take to make them move forward on this and abate those problems.
It's very difficult. We can't really do that, but what we could do is give a 6-month license, tell them that.
We did that last time, didn't we?
We did that last time, didn't we? And what happened? Then we extended it again. Okay, so.
And I think the town administrator at the time had reached out to the owners.
He said they were going to take care of it.
And they have not.
And they needed
And they have not.
they needed a little more time.
So this has been going on for a long time, but it's getting to the point that the septic is really not working well. And this has been discussed. I've discussed this with the town administrator. He has reached out to them. Last time we gave them a 6-month extension, another 6 months, now it's a year.
Madam President? Just if I may, have we reached out to the Tiverton Wastewater District in regards to this? And the only reason I make that comment is because I know that this has been on their radar to work with the federal agencies to get funding to extend the sewer line to Dadson specifically.
Yes, and they are nowhere near ready to do that. That was discussed, now I know what you're talking about. That was discussed last year, but right now they have their own project, and that is not going to happen for a long time. They did not get the funding right away.
Well, they were funded a couple of times, and they didn't do it.
They didn't do it.
Right.
So
It's not part of the priority.
But if
So
we-
it's not their priority list, and we have talked to them.
But if we don't, this was our discussion last time, if we don't approve that, people can't live there.
Right.
They close.
There would be unlicensed.
So can we reach out to DEM and ask them what they're doing about this?
I believe the administrator has.
Right.
And I know it's been a priority of his to try to follow up on this. It's really just getting, they're the regulatory agency, and they're the ones who can shut them down or not based upon
This is-
violations of, wastewater treatment stuff.
This is my suggestion for this one, to give them a 3-month right now, and talk to Chris, because he's not here today because he's ill, see where he's going with that, and let them know they have a 3 months to at least show some progress. Do you agree? Because they're not showing any kind of progress. So.
We want to see some progress towards a plan and funding.
Right. Has DEM been down there?
Not to my knowledge.
Who knows?
So I think that the town administrator needs to call DEM and give them this situation. We're having a hard time with this license because of what's going on with their septic. And maybe we can suggest to them, because you can't force DEM to do anything, but suggest to them to come down, because we have a problem. The problem is, if we denied this license, as of November 30th, these people have nowhere to go.
Right.
So that's a problem for the people who live there. But the owners are not fixing the septic.
Well, and I get all that, and I appreciate all that. However, if myself or anybody in this room had a failed septic system in the backyard, we would be notified, we would be fined if we didn't correct it, and we could.
By DEM, though, DEM would
Yes,
have to do that.
DEM would do it.
But for some reason, DEM,
For some reason, that's not happening here, and everybody downstream of that place
is getting it.
To the river is getting polluted.
Yes. So I think this is what the motion should be, for a 3-month extension with the town administrator, contacting DEM and the owners once again, to notify them that they have 3 months to show some progress.
After 3 months, can we find them every day they don't?
We can't. It's got to be
We can
DEM.
recommend to DEM?
Yes.
All we can do is contact them and say, you've got a problem, we need to look at this.
Are there other licensing violations we could attach a fine to outside of the septic?
There are a couple of minimum housing code violations that exist on the property.
Oh, there are?
That would be to the owners of the units though, right? The minimum housing by the owners or the individual trailer units or the?
Well, it would be the association because they own the
Association,
property.
so, okay. So that's minimum housing, but that doesn't solve that problem.
No, but if DEM doesn't step forward, we might have to. And I hate fining people, but if that's the stick that's needed.
But we were right here last year, Mike.
Right.
And the people who live there are at the mercy of this.
Right.
So
Chris is,
we're not
I don't know if I should tell them.
looking to find the people who live there, but the association, right, the owners.
Mike, I was under the impression that the town had some responsibility as it related to OWTS, and that was why we created the Tiverton Wastewater District and pushed the monitoring over to them.
They don't do the monitoring anymore. They
Yeah,
gave it up.
they don't do that anymore.
Well, because we didn't fund them.
But, well,
And so we're not doing it, so we're technically not in compliance either. So DEM's not going to look very favorably on us for not doing our job.
they know exactly at DEM, but this problem was when they were there, when they had this, and they didn't do anything about it either. So, all right, so would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make,
Go ahead,
go for it. I'll make a motion to approve the Dadson Mobile Homeowners Association mobile home park license for 3 months.
With a condition?
With, and refer this to the town administrator to contact.
And refer it to the administrator and to go work with DEM to find a solution.
Okay,
So we can do this again in 3 months.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? The next one is Four Seasons. Is there a problem with Four Seasons, John? No. Is there any concern with Four Seasons Mobile Home Association?
It's not on my list, no.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience like to talk about Four Seasons? I'd like to entertain a motion.
Move approval of the license for Four Seasons Mobile Home Association, 225 Brayton Road.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Heritage Home Park Corp. Incorporated, there is a problem with that one.
There is a problem.
Okay, go ahead.
As to do an inspection, we did enumerate numerous violations of the minimum housing code, as well as accumulation of garbage and unregistered vehicles and so on and so forth. And instead of trying to tack on each individual one, we thought there might be an opportunity, if you want to emulate what you did with Datsun and extend it for a certain amount of time, to give us a chance to get in contact. This is the first time I ever drove down that street. It was just a couple weeks ago, so I wasn't aware of it. These things only come to my attention usually when either I'm in there doing an inspection or somebody brings it to my attention. There are some issues that definitely need to be addressed. However, if we get the attention of the association.
Okay, so you recommend 3 months extension right now, and you will work trying to get them to comply?
We will be working with them, but I believe it would be a little bit of added ammunition if we had something in our pocket, so to speak.
So 3 months?
3 months. I'd like to entertain.
Make a motion to approve Heritage Home Park Cooperative 100 Heritage Park for a 3-month extension and have the building official work with them to come into compliance with the minimum housing standard issues.
Second.
Motion made second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Paget Brook Park, Inc. You're okay with that one?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Once again, my first foray into that neighborhood, it is a unique situation where it appears that the majority of the structures that are there are somewhere in the magnitude of 9 or 10, the majority of which are obviously not inhabited at the moment, so they're abandoned. Something else I would also like to work with on them, because we can't have abandoned structures anywhere in this town. There are some obvious people living in, maybe a handful of them, but there's an accumulation, once again, of abandoned vehicles, debris, garbage, overgrown, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But
So your recommendation is 3 months again, and you'll.
that would help. I think it would help our position. Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion. And
For 3 months.
Second, for 3 months, and for the building official to work with the owners in taking care of some of these violations. Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Manufactured Home Elderly Community License Renewal, Hometown Country View LLC, DBA Country View Estates, 213 Hearst Lane. Planning Board recommendation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? And I know that the neighborhood is here. Come on, John. We heard your concerns last week. No, and I just want to tell you that Chris has not forgotten to meet with you. And I think Jay's going to too, but the problem is.
Well, if I could get somebody to get back to me.
Yeah, so the problem is, Chris's schedule's been pretty tight the last couple of weeks, so we still are planning on doing that.
Right, we understand. Also, I don't have anything to add. Our concerns have been well documented, and the town clerk has distributed them to every council member. The only thing I would ask that she also distribute them to the new council members. I think there's a couple of documents that we submitted, so that's well documented. We had a good discussion at your last meeting, and the council was very receptive to our problems. In a nutshell, it's an outside company that's come in and invested in Country View Estates, and we're representing the whole community, Country View Citizens Association. And our fear is that the property is starting to deteriorate, and we want to stop it before there's a problem like you have with Dotson and some of the other mobile parks. Let's address it right now so we prevent it from becoming a great problem down the road. So that's all. And it was interesting to see that on occasion you've approved it for a 3-month period. That might be a good idea for no other reason to put Hometown America on notice that they're being monitored by the town, and they have to invest in the property. Then it isn't just a profit center for them. They have an obligation to the zoning code, and they have an obligation to the senior citizens that live there. If we can get that message to them, and you can help us with that, I would appreciate it. And we look forward to working with you and the town administrator and the building zoning inspector.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So when I read the zoning, and there's zoning for that park, specifically for it aging.
Exactly.
So when I read it, the homeowners association owns the public buildings.
The use of the public buildings, yes. Exclusively for the...
And upkeep. So when you pay your rent to the owner.
True.
Does any of that money go into an account for the association?
No.
None at all?
They have complete independence on how much they spend.
To fund maintenance and operation of the public buildings.
It's a good point.
How's it been done in the past?
Well, they have exclusive authority as to what they spend, how much they spend, and where they spend it. We have no say whatsoever. And that's our problem. We've been trying to communicate with them, pointing out problems, maintenance problems in the community. They goes mostly ignored. They respond only to things that they need to respond that are visible. But some of the buildings have problems, deterioration problems that isn't visible to somebody walking by, but it's there. But we know because we live there and we see it every day. There are problems in the pool area, there are problems in the clubhouse, and they just ignore it. So
well, another thing I thought I heard was that there are different rates in that place.
Yes. Yeah, that work? Well, that's a different matter completely because everyone has an individual contract for the land on which their manufactured home is on. So it kind of comes, in my opinion, it would come outside the council's jurisdiction. It would be strictly illegal.
That would be.
Yeah. So that's, we're not dealing with that. But the maintenance problem is, and treatment of senior citizens. That's a great senior citizen facility. And we just hate to see some from the outside neglecting their responsibilities to the seniors and to the town and to the zoning code. And working with the town, we certainly appreciate that and look forward to it.
Just a comment. The properties there tend to turn over. There always seems to be, at least one or two that are on the market.
Right.
And I would hate to see people come in and say, the house was well cared for by the previous owner, but the public spaces, the pool, the community center, the street's not plowed well, or, whatever those issues, I would just hate to see starting to have more vacant buildings there.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, John, I know you went down there, right? Didn't you go down there to look for if there was any gross violation?
You're going to have to forgive me. This is the one at the end of Hearst Lane? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, I'm not
Yes.
familiar with the names, but
Yes.
Myself and the interim town planner, Ashley Sweet, did a site visit about 2 weeks ago, met with a representative in the office, and I have been in those properties on certain occasions for work that has been being done to the individual structures, but we were focusing solely on the larger community center in the pool area. and we found no obvious evidence of any issues related to building or zoning.
Safety.
Or safety codes, none
Okay,
whatsoever.
so that was part of our request, too. When an inspection is made, out of courtesy to the residents there, and we have a legal organization, the Citizens Association, we should be involved. I mean, there's nothing wrong with us sitting down. I mean, you have the final say as the building and zoning inspector, but listen to how we view the property and what we see there, and then if we're wrong, that's fine, you know.
The only problem, John, is if they're meeting specific zoning and there's, like, when he goes through and there's no safety issues, there's very little we can do to hold back their license.
Or drainage or road issues or any of that.
Yeah.
Well, the zoning code specifies that you have to maintain that building. The owner has to maintain that building. Now, whether they do it directly or they allow us money to do it, but if that building's not being maintained, then they're in violation of the zoning code. And our contention is it's not being maintained, and we'd like to prove it, but we have to get someone that listen to us, other than Hometown, because they just ignore us.
Well, John, I
Mike.
have a standing
Mike.
offer to go down there and
Yep.
have somebody like you or any of them take me around and point things out. But I got to tell you, when I read the zoning, it sounds pretty much to me like the homeowners association owns that thing.
Well, I don't think we own it. We have, I think the wording in the zoning is that we have sole use of the clubhouse and the common property. Now, it's left for interpretation of what sole use means. Anyway, we look forward to working with you.
John, did you want to say something?
Well, if you have specific issues that you have concerns about, my office is always available to answer.
We do, but we need someone to walk through the property. We have Alfonso is here, he's our past president, I think I mentioned him last meeting.
Well, John has offered to do that, so.
We'd be more than happy to, if you sat with us, we'll show you a laundry list of things, and then you make your decision. I mean, you're.
So will you contact the office and?
Absolutely.
Is that all right with you?
Please contact my office,
Okay.
and we'll schedule an appointment, and you can
We'll
voice
do
your
that.
concerns to me.
Okay, thank you.
Meanwhile, can we restrict it for 3 months or 6 months? Not. Do we really have a reason?
They don't have any violations.
He went down there.
He went down there, so.
Yeah. All right, but to the new councilors, last time, me and Chris, the homeowners, and we're going to have the owners meet with all of us and see if we can get some kind of communication and something done. But we haven't had a moment to do that yet, but we are going to do it probably next week, Chris said. So, okay, do I have a motion?
Madam President, just one comment on the planning board recommendation. We don't have the planning board recommendation yet for this or the quarry, but it's scheduled for their 12/6 meeting.
But if we table this, we can.
Just subject to their approval.
Yes,
Subject to that letter, their approval, subject to the planning board's recommendation.
So
Need a recommendation.
So we can grant the license as of November 30th, and then if they come back with something different, then we have to put it back on the agenda and, okay. All right.
We would do a show cause hearing at that point, right? If there's something else.
Wouldn't be really a show cause, it would be more of revisiting it, right? Okay. All right.
Madam President, motion to approve Hometown Country View LLC, DBA Country View Estates, 213 Hearst Lane.
Second. I have a subject to the planning board.
What's it going to do? We're not going to reopen the license in 3 weeks.
Yes, we
I have no
are.
idea what the planning board says.
Yeah, the planning board says no, that they shouldn't.
Then I would like to make my motion to approve them for 3 months. And we'll just wait for the planning board thing, and we can deal with it then.
Can we legally do that? Because we don't really have a violation.
You don't have any violations on the
No
road.
violations.
All right, then I make the motion that we approve their license.
Okay.
And
Subject to planning board.
Subject to.
But if there's no, here's my question.
All
If we
right,
can't, if we can't legally not issue the license, if there's no violation, what are we waiting for a planning board recommendation for?
As planning
What do
board.
we care?
It's a requirement of the license.
Okay. Then subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? Unanimous. You're going to take over. I'll be right back.
Yep, so we are moving to item 10H, Quarry, Helga Brothers Sand and Gravel LLC, 1764 Crandall Road. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to be heard on this matter? Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to be heard on this matter? So we also need the planning board recommendation on this. Discussion from the members?
Mr. Chair. Motion to approve Helga Brothers Sand and Gravel LLC, 1764 Crandall Road Quarry license, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Moving on to item I, petroleum storage license renewals. There are 13 of those. I'll just read quickly the names in case anybody's here for any of them. No, just Andrew Snyder, Tiverton Department of Public Works, Feral Gas, Santa Energy, Inland Fuel Terminals, American Dream is American Dream Gas, Phil Vieira as Phil's Propane, SK Properties, Kingfisher Housing, Tiverton Marina, Standish Boatyard, SGA Inc., George's Gas, Twin River Casino, Joe's Quick Marts, Tiverton Petroleum, Quick Fuel Stop, and Tiverton Sun. Anybody want to be heard on any of those? Anyone want to be heard on any of those? Hearing and seeing none. Any discussion, or do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve petroleum storage license renewals, numbers 1 through 13.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Moving on to item 10J, fireworks license renewals. East Lake Variety, Tiverton Convenience, SFS Corporation is Elaine's Country, Nimraj is Crossroads Liquors, Rachel McGarty is Ramco, Step by Step Convenience, and Hobby Center is Fireworks Connection. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to be heard on those?
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself from Rachel McGarty, Ramco.
So let's take items, if someone wants to make a motion on items J, 1 through 4, and 6 to 7.
I'll make a motion, we approve the fireworks license renewals for numbers 1 through 4.
And 6 through 7.
And 7.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Joe, you'll make sure you get a recusal form in? Joe, you'll make sure you get a recusal form in for that one? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion on item J5, Rachel McGarty, DBA Ramco, with Councilor Perry recusing.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Anybody in the audience? Oh, I already asked that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? None opposed? Joe, there, that was quick, Joe. Kathy, gave you a chance to get some water. Do you have to recuse yourself again?
Yep.
For K?
For I, number 1, K1.
K1, so that's the only, yeah, that's the only one there, so.
That's it.
So is there anybody in the audience who would like to be heard on item K, which is flea market license renewal, Route 177, flea market? Anybody in the audience wish to be heard? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve Ronald Falcon, DBA Route 177 Flea Market, 1560 Bulgarmarsh Road.
I'll second.
Have a second, have a recusal from Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And none opposed? Thank you. And moving on to general business. We have...
Make a motion here. Move that we switch A and B. Do B first.
Well, we have a motion. Do we have a second to handle item 11B first, before 11A?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay.
Did you make the motion?
Yes, Jay
I'll
made the
second,
motion.
yeah.
That old guy, Jay.
The elder. The elder counselor.
The elder.
Jay the eldest.
Well, here's my story. My son-in-law is named Mike. So what I've said, my family doesn't agree with this, is to differentiate us. I am King Mike, and he is Prince Mike, but it hasn't worked. So we're on, so there's a motion to move item 11B before 11A. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I go along.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All those opposed? Okay.
Just because, we gotta spice it up.
So,
Do you want to entertain?
Yeah, it's not that one, I'm confused on
I
what
just
you
want to move this
actually
along.
know.
It's 9:30 already.
this was Jay's idea. So Jay asked that this be moved forward.
I understand where you are, okay.
Partially because, so the two are somewhat intertwined, but the item B, we've had a couple situations where folks have wanted to put displays of some sort or memorials on public property. And some have gone, and I know Carl and Megan are an example, and Ryan, the proper route. And they actually first went to the Rec Commission. Rec Commission said it's not our purview, please bring it to the council, that's why A is here. Others have done something similar and never come to the council and decided to put that display up themselves without even asking if we thought it was a good idea, which, you know, my guess is when folks looked at what that display was, they probably would have said, yeah, okay, just go through the proper channels. Carl, that's not you, don't worry. So what I'm suggesting is that we work on a process, an ordinance, for consideration of temporary and permanent displays on public property. You know, whether they be a memorial, how do we determine what memorial should go up? Whether it be a temporary display because of a certain holiday that somebody wants to do, and or in memory of somebody. So that's where this is. It's really as simple as that, as to whether or not we want to ask the solicitor to, and I'll be happy to work with them on an ordinance to bring back before us at a later date.
Any discussion?
No, I think that's a great idea.
Madam President, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's a good idea, but we want to limit it, make it tasteful and appropriate so that we don't have memorials heaping up everywhere.
Yeah, and I also think it's a good idea because there has been some things put up that we didn't know about. We've, there's one in particular we've said we think it's a great idea, but you just need to tell us. And it went up again the other day without coming to us again. So, and it's just, we very rarely will say no to temporary, but you do have to go through a process. And it's not being followed, but we don't have an ordinance, we don't have a rule. So I think that it's important we do that. John?
I'd like to make a motion that we direct the solicitor to work with Vice Chair Burk to draft a policy or an ordinance to bring back to this council so that we may vote.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Now, Carl, come on. I thought you were still up here. I was so confused.
Oh, no, we went
You went
through
fast, yeah. You're better than me.
So good evening. Carl Ferreira, 65 Harbor Ridge Lane, Tiverton, Rhode Island. Congratulations to the new council members and to the more established council members.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you can call me home.
I did.
Go ahead.
I'm doing the best I
We go
can.
way back, so he can do that.
So, as you alluded to earlier, we did go through the proper channels to present our proposal, and with all due respect to Councilor Burk, there have been in this community since it was settled in 1659, 3 memorials for people who have given up their lives for others. One, the World War I Memorial at Grinnell's Beach. The other, Lieutenant Paul Jerome from the Vietnam War at the end of Highland Road. The other for Sergeant Michael Sylvia, also in the Vietnam era. That averages out to a memorial every 121 years. For those who may not be aware of George Heath was a local town resident, born here, raised his family here. People probably went to school here with George Heath.
77 with us.
And on May 10th, 2016, while eating in a restaurant in Taunton, Massachusetts, a mentally unstable man drove through the mall, picked up a steak knife, and started to attack a pregnant waitress. George intervened and lost his life in the process. So we are proposing a granite slab bench-like memorial at Fogland Beach. George was a long-time iconic windsurfer. For over 35 years I've sailed with George. He was also an interesting character in North Tiverton, taught himself how to ride a unicycle, and it wouldn't be unusual to see George riding his unicycle from Grand Central Market to his home on Cypress Avenue with a bag of dog food over one shoulder and his groceries in the other. To that end, George has been honored and commended by a short list of people: Governor Charlie Baker, Thomas Hoy, Mayor of Taunton, John Mitchell, Mayor of New Bedford, Thomas Quinn, Bristol County District Attorney, former U.S. Representative Joseph Kennedy. He's a Carnegie Hero Fund Commission Medal Award winner. He also received the Madeline Amy Sweeney Hero Award for an individual who displayed extraordinary courage in defending or saving the lives of individuals. With all deference to Councilman Burk and this council, irrespective of an ordinance, there is no criteria or no standard that you could set, no bar that you could raise that George Heath would not have exceeded. And
what you didn't know is the waitress lived and her baby is...
I did know that.
Oh, I did.
They both survived.
Yeah, I didn't know if everyone realized.
So both the waitress and the unborn child did survive. This award in this community, in his hometown, is long overdue. And the fault of that lies with me. It's not the fault of this council, nor the council before that, nor the council before that. I expected someone else to step forward, and I guess now that someone is me.
It wasn't that long ago, was it?
May 10th, 2016.
Wow.
And to add more perspective to this, it was almost 6 years to the day that the Uvalde shooting occurred. And with all deference to the chief and law enforcement, my daughter is a police officer, and so is my son-in-law. 19 men, fully trained, fully armed, cowering in fear in a corridor while children were slaughtered. George Heath, untrained and unarmed, ran to the assailant and saved 2 lives. Without question, ordinance or no, this body will still have to make a decision as to whether he is a hero and whether he deserves this particular memorial. So in the interest of fairness, in the interest of the memory of George Heath, I implore you to act upon this now.
Councilor Burk.
Carl, thank you. And I sat through the Recreation Commission meeting where you presented this and appreciate that you did follow the process that we asked of you. I just want to take one exception to a comment you just made. I don't think anyone here at this table, and probably in the audience, questions whether or not George was a hero with what he did. So that's not on the table. On the table is whether or not we feel that the proposal here should be acted on.
Carl, is this a bench?
Yes, granite slab.
Okay.
It's been donated.
And where would you like it to go?
It isn't in the original form that I gave you. I think that's something that should be determined by George's 2 children and a member of the council and a member of the Recreation Commission as to where it would be sited.
Did you want to go on the windsurfing side?
Both sides of the windsurfing sides. George and I sailed on both sides, somewhere between the bathhouse and the boat ramp.
But
Ma'am.
Yes, would you like to say something?
All right, so we have a situation where Fogland Beach is concurrently supervised by recreation and open space.
Yes, sir.
They frequently get into turf wars and arguments about, you did this, you should have talked to us, vice versa. So I think even if it turns out that it isn't on their turf, if we will, open space should also be involved in the discussion.
Council, with all due respect, I disagree. The area,
Let
other
him
thing,
finish.
I think, one of the things that an ordinance would have to address is not the fact necessarily that George Heath is deserving of this, but where is it appropriate to be? Not just in his case, but in any case. You know, I personally feel that if we're going to put a memorial somewhere, then the person we're memorializing should have had some connection to that location.
I alluded earlier to the connection to the location. And it was our intent that, as I said, a member of the council, a member of the Recreation Commission, and George's children would come to a reasonable accommodation as to where that might be placed. And in addition to that, at the suggestions of the Recreation Commission, we were also willing to put aside a reasonable amount of money for the maintenance and/or repair of this granite slab.
Yeah, and you did bring that up. I was going to raise that, so thank you, because you did send me an email to that regard.
Ma'am.
Open space only has control over a certain area there, of Fogland, I believe.
The North Cove.
Right.
Well, and across
okay.
the road along the dunes.
All right, so if we put it on not open space property, we probably don't really have to talk to them.
Like I said,
Madam Chair, the reason I went to the Recreation Commission is because it was our intent to place it on that area that is under the jurisdiction of the Recreation Commission. Had his children wanted it on the North Cove, we would have gone to open space.
Right. And this is all privately funded?
Yes,
You have the
ma'am.
donations for it?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the memorial as proposed by Mr. Ferreira and the decedent's children, and ask that Recreation work with those three parties to find a suitable location on land that Recreation controls.
May I ask, in addition to that, John, that it be stipulated that it's all done through private funding, including setting aside an amount to be determined by the administrator and solicitor for future maintenance?
Yes, I would like to add that to my motion.
And I will second that motion.
And if it's all right with the council, I like to work with them. Deb might want to too, because we knew George very, very well.
By all means.
We're aging ourselves, but we did go to school with him.
I'm aging myself as well, ma'am.
I think he was president of our graduating class.
He might have been, but no, he wasn't. But anyway, no. But when I think of George, I think of Fogland. And I think that a bench there is just such an appropriate, it's appropriate for the area, it blends in with the beach. And I think his family can get some good feeling to go and to sit and to visit and to feel close to him.
And I do want to say, I'm going to get the yearbook, and I'm going to show you who he was. But anyway, she's always telling me I'm wrong. Okay. All right. So motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you, council members.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilor Burke, your cell phone light is on.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're right. I was wrong.
Who was it?
Someone else, Steve Medeiros, who's probably at home saying, I was the president.
What did you just say?
I was wrong. Okay. Recreation Chair, Stu. Discussion possible vote for approval of tree lighting ceremony at Fort Barton Town Hall on December 3rd, 2022, from 2 to 9, and a menorah lighting at Town Hall on December 18th through the 26th. Who's gonna light the menorah?
We'll coordinate it. I think there'll be a manual process.
Maybe Council Burke.
Generally, the first night is when you have some type of event, and the other night, whoever wants to show up at sundown would be there to, and it's an electric menorah, so it likely will be. I'm working on getting one donated for us to use for the season.
All right, go ahead, talk. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate you giving me some time. So we've run a holiday tree lighting for the past few years. This bears a lot of resemblance to that. We've connected with the police department about the traffic concerns, and I connected with the chief again this morning, and we're good to go, just ensuring that not only will we notify residents, but also that we wouldn't have any issues with people, because the tree lighting would be right out here for anybody who hasn't experienced it before. From there, marching down to Fort Barton, we go in and we'll have a holiday event. We'll have crafts, activities, snacks, some music, and just sort of a fun, inclusive holiday event. So that's really sort of the first piece to it. And then as is noted in here with the menorah, sort of an attempt to try and be more inclusive as a community and find more events to bring folks together. So that's the...
Is the band going to do it this year?
They are,
Okay. I don't think they did last year.
It's a new band director, so we were, and no, they weren't able to last year, I think because of COVID, but they're going to do it this year, and we're just all coordinating logistics with them. So.
And Santa will be in the fire truck?
Yes, we have in fact reserved Santa, yes.
Okay. All right, any questions or discussion?
Madam President?
Yes.
Motion to grant the recreation's request.
Second.
He can go. He can go.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, you can go.
Oh, yeah, you're all set.
I forgot you were there.
I don't have any septic problems.
I have a second in a motion. Council Burke?
Just, Stu, I want to say publicly how much I appreciate you and the commission being more inclusive in the work that you're doing, because as a town, I think we need to do that. And as you and I spoke, there are certainly other cultures and religions that I think we need to continue to expand that to. And I will reach out to our temple president to see if maybe we can get the word out that way. And I have an email into the Jewish Alliance president about the menorah.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Burk, discussion and possible vote on reviewing zoning ordinance, including permissible locations for recreational marijuana retail shops.
So again, this is simply a request that we start the process of looking at our zoning ordinances in light of the affirmative vote of Tiverton residents to allow, if there was ever one licensed or attempted to be cited in Tiverton, to allow those to be cited in Tiverton. So the will of the voters is that we should. Now we have to decide where it would be most appropriate. So that's what this is about.
Any discussion?
I think it's a
Well,
good
I'll ask
idea.
Mike, as a solicitor, does the state weighed in about what we can and cannot do?
Yeah, yes, they have, but it still would be subject to local zoning, so.
Still subject, so we still own that.
But it's kind of like if the voters vote for it, well, how do you say, I mean, generally you could make the argument that they could be zoned in allowed in any retail space where you allow retail businesses, because this is what this is, it's a retail business. But if you want to limit that more specifically to, because it's a certain type of retail business, you probably can, you probably should.
Well, what I mean is, that they tell us what we can and can't do with tobacco, but they haven't said with this.
They have, the provision of the law does have a long provision about what the local cities and towns can do under local control, including regulate where you can smoke it, things like that. So that's something we'll be discussing in the next week. We don't even know if Tiverton will qualify for a license or something that applies for it, but it's a good idea to get it.
Little Compton said no, so.
There were 6 communities that said no.
But we don't even know that we'll get the
No,
license.
there's only 33 licenses, so, and I was listening to and they don't think they'll be ready till maybe 2024.
Right.
So
we have time?
You have time, but you got to think about it. It's a good
No,
thing to
we
think.
absolutely
Well, we
need to
have
go
time,
for
we
it.
don't want to dawdle.
Can we just refer this to the zoning board or the planning board, somebody who has purview over doing the legwork and holds regular meetings on this?
Only the council can amend the zoning. Planning would have to recommend it, or.
Right, we would have to send it to
We would have
them.
to send it to them for recommendation, so.
So can we just send it to the planning board for recommendation?
For a general recommendation, where they think they should put it, I guess.
Or if we even need to amend the zoning?
No, we do have
We
to.
definitely need to amend the zoning.
We don't have anything, there's no ordinance.
Like, we don't have an ordinance for marijuana.
I would like to make a motion that we have the solicitor work on reviewing the zoning ordinances to recommend to the council possible locations within the zoning for recreational marijuana retail shops if they ever come to fruition.
Second.
Motion's made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Against? 6-1. Police Chief Jones. I was wondering where you were.
This isn't going to be cars again.
No, it's not cars. Discussion and possible vote to accept USDA rural emergency health care grant, which we heard about at the last meeting.
Correct.
For $500,948.
Correct. So this was the grant that you authorized me to apply for the last time, and this is more of a collaborative with the fire department as well to improve pre-hospital trip emergency communications, which will kind of dovetail in with the $1.5 million for the public safety radio communications. So, and also I've been working with the administrator. There's another $500,000 out there through the congressional earmark that, keep your fingers crossed, that we hope to know in the next couple of weeks. But this one, the money's already there. We should be getting it this week.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve or we vote to accept the USDA Rural Emergency Health Care Grant Award in the amount of $505,948.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion or questions for the chief? All those in favor?
Oh, Magoo, you did it again.
Thank you.
And keep finding us more. Just keep going. Thank you. DPW Director Rogers, discussion and possible vote to approve MTG Disposal LLC trucking charge to RRC, estimated $4,986 for the month of December. Explain this, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Denise. The contract expires 12/31/22. However, the landfill closes tomorrow. So on the 30th November, that everything starts the next day having to be trucked to Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation. So we're looking at about, whatever the number was, about $5,000 extra trucking for the month of December to go with the trash to Johnston.
And this money will come from what account?
It'll come from the
Is it-
55006457.
Okay.
That's the contracted
Yeah, yeah.
services.
Okay.
And I don't see a problem with it. One of the things that MTG did say was that this and the next one were based on coming to an agreement. We would take the first 4 rejected loads in the calendar year. It's already November 28th, so I don't see that being retroactive. It would be more of an issue on the next one, letter G.
Okay. So I'd like to entertain a motion on F. And the motion was B to vote to approve the MTG Disposable LLC trucking charge to Rhode Island Resource Recovery, estimated $49.86.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion?
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. So I know this is really for the trucking, for the fuel, for the trucks and whatnot, because at one point there was something, and you had said you thought that the cost would actually go down because there'd be more recycling. Does that take this into account?
No, the comments might have been that if proper recycling is done and you meet goals that Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation sets, you might get a rebate. But Tiverton historically hasn't had to worry about it, and Tiverton historically has not met their goal anyways, even if we were trucking it to Johnston. So proper recycling does reduce your cost because you're not paying tipping fees. You're recycling And that's no charge when it gets to Johnson,
So
if
this-
done correctly.
This is really for the trucking charge and doesn't include the tipping.
Correct. Tipping is not included, and also there's built into the contract a fuel adjustment. When the contract was done, it might have been a year ago, we renewed it or extended it. It was $2.88 a gallon, and the last ones have been somewhere in the vicinity of $5.
Yeah.
So we are paying that per contract.
Wow. Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Deb.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
And I would, along with what Deb said, since we have an audience, point out that the biggest complaint, the biggest cause for rejection is plastic bags. Plastic bags have to be recycled when you go back to Walmart, Market Basket, Stop and Shop, in those buckets that they have. They are not allowed in the curbside recycling.
Right.
And that's the biggest rejection notice.
Neither is shredded paper.
Okay, so,
Well, shredded paper is also not allowed, yes.
all right, so the next one, discussion possible vote to approve MTG Disposal LLC contract extension for the period of January 1st, 2023 to to June 2023.
So moved.
Rick, so
Second.
why, so I have a motion and a second. Why are we extending this instead of going up?
Because, and
When does their contract end?
right, thank you, Denise.
Okay.
The answer is it ends December 31st, 2022, and there's, to DPW's opinion, there are too many moving parts when the landfill closes to try to go out to bid.
Okay.
We get 6 months, well, maybe not 6 months, but
Right.
a few months at least, so we see how things shake out.
I just wanted to make that clear, because normally we go out for bid, so.
Yes.
That's why we're extending it until we get it all organized and ready to go, and then go out for bid.
Right.
Okay.
Madam President.
We'll use a short period to get a better idea of what it's going to be, how things are going to be.
John?
Perhaps the solicitor has this answer. I don't have the original contract in front of me, but did we have optional extensions built into that contract?
No,
I would not know that off the top of my
I don't
head.
think,
Can we find out? Because quite frankly, I mean, if we have to go out to bid, we need to do it quickly. And, I'm uncomfortable not having the contract in front of me to know whether we can legally do this.
we can legally do this, correct, Mike? Mike,
Yeah, I'm listening. When does the contract expire, Rick?
December.
The contract expires December 31st.
There's very clearly not enough time to put together an appropriate big
That's why
spec,
I
but
asked about that, but.
And the original contract was July 1st of July 2017, and that was extended, it might have been a
a
year
3-year
ago.
and then a 1 year and a 1 year, if I recall. I mean, it's been a while, but.
So it's my understanding, John, that it's not explicitly covered, that you're prohibited from renewing or extending, that is, or allowing you explicit approval to extend. It's not covered. DPW's opinion is you're allowed to, unless there's something illegal about it, you're allowed to extend the contract. That's DPW's opinion.
I would move to extend it, I'll take a look at it. I mean, it's an emergency, we've got to do it, so.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other questions?
One final question.
It may be under the threshold amount anyway, so I don't know how much this would be.
It's like, what is it, 70-something thousand, 73,000 base rate, 6-month total, almost $500,000.
Half of that.
So, is that, no, actually, that is my question. So, the 6-month total, it was going to cost us, their estimate based off of the fuel right now is $441,983.
And if I may, John, in the contract agreement, on 4G, additional extension beyond, so to my knowledge, it backs up what I was saying, again, based on Mike approving it. But on 4G, additional extension beyond 2023 shall be by mutual agreement. So
Okay.
that means it's it's perfectly legal if the town council says yes.
So you also say in here that it's subject to negotiation on rejected recycle loads. Is that we own the first 4?
That's what they would like. We haven't set that in stone. But if that's what it takes, I would say okay. But I'd still like to discuss that with them. And that would be for the year, so starting January 1st, particularly, even the one we have now existing, the first 3 that are solely based on moisture are the town's responsibility. This would change it to the first 4 for any reason.
How often are we seeing rejected loads based off of moisture?
We work quite a bit there.
Yeah, that's probably the second biggest reason for rejection is moisture. And we probably had, maybe, we might have had 12 or so in the last year.
What does that cost us?
It costs anywhere from $500 to $900 a pop.
Okay, so if we assume $900 a pop, because people are just going to continue doing what they've been doing, so we own the first 4 every month?
Yeah, so it could be considerably another $4,000.
So it's another $4,000 a month that essentially we're going to wind up owning. Is that accounted for in that 441 figure?
In the 441 figure?
It's another, it's another $24,000. So.
My question is what our options?
Yeah.
We don't have any options.
Private contract like they did in Portsmouth? I don't know,
Private trash for everyone, pays for their private trash.
we should have been looking at this well before now.
No, we have well before now, and this was the route we decided to take as a council over the last couple of years when we've talked about closing the recycle center. This has all been part of it. Private trash is never going to fly in this town, and we've had public meetings 100 times. But we have considered all of this within the last year.
And thank you, Denise. And John, to answer your question, no, 441 does not include the approximate possible $4,000. However, again, we're a frugal town, we're a frugal DPW. We try to watch our dollars and pennies, but the rejection loads, that's not what's kicking the butt right now, and that's the anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month for fuel adjustment, not fuel adjustment.
So is the fuel adjustments in that 441 number?
No, we don't know that number. It's every month. We do not know.
Every
what it
month,
is.
okay.
Yes. But next month it might be 1,000. If the fuel prices go down, it might be 0.
We were perfectly aware, and I think we've made it aware to everyone, that trash is going to be an increased amount from now on. The
By a lot.
budget
Yes.
is going to have that budget line
Yes.
from this point on.
Yeah, we've been blessed all these years.
So we had no choice. We had to close the dump.
Yes, DEM mandates that,
And we
So-
extended.
and we did.
We got,
Yes.
We got a 2-year grace period.
Yes.
So, all right, do I have a motion on the floor? Yes. And a second.
That's not my question, though. My question is, what is the actual dollar number we're going to expend over the next 6 months?
Well, you might be 441 or 442, plus maybe 4,000, and an unknown number for fuel. We don't, every month, they send us a bill, we check that against United States Energy Information Administration, where they put out different zones for diesel fuel. And that's what we use that. They're allowed to charge that. And that's checked, that's done weekly. We check the 4 or 5 per month and see if their number is coming in under that. And that's in the original contract.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to know what the number's going to be, that's all.
Yeah, no.
And whether or not we have the dollars to.
Well, it's going to have to be budgeted for this. Got to do it.
So, great, so what is our current shortfall for the rest of the fiscal year, and where are we going to make those dollars up?
We anticipated this was coming.
Yeah, no, my understanding, John, Denise, is that we have properly anticipated
in the
through
budget.
June 30th of next year.
Yeah.
and we're working on what it's going to be for fiscal year '24.
I don't know if you remember, John, but we increased the budget in anticipation of this. So Chris feels comfortable that we'll be all right.
We increased it, but at the time we did that, we had no clue what fuel was going to do.
Right, we didn't
And it's a
anticipate
lot
that.
worse than we thought, any of us thought it was going to be.
So what we'll have to do is.
That's the big
just-
unknown.
We'll just have to borrow from
Continue to
another
see
account
what-
and look at what's going on.
And listen, I'm not saying that's not what
Right.
we're going to do. I just, it would be nice to know what that's going to look like.
Well, Chris isn't here today, but I do know he has some kind of plan in his head. So if you want, I'll put it on the agenda and we can talk about it the next time. Is that
I mean,
good?
you've got a motion on the floor, so it would
Well,
take
yeah,
somebody
well,
pulling it
we have
back.
to do this
still need to
today.
do something
We have to
We
do
still
this
need
today,
to
but
do
we'll
this.
need to know where we're going to take it.
We still need to do this because we need to,
There's always the unknown, but I'm comfortable at DPW that we have enough in this fiscal year budget to cover the extension, to cover the 4,000 in possible recycle load rejections, and the fuel adjustment factor through June 23rd.
And the tipping fees.
And the tipping fees.
yes.
Thank you, Jake. But going forward for next fiscal
Well, the
year,
next budget, we're going to have to work on.
we have to work on that.
Well, we'll also have some information that's going to inform us of, right now, we have no clue, other than the state's estimate of what our tonnage should be. Well, after 6 months, we're going to have a pretty good idea whether we're going to exceed that or we're going to be under it or at it.
So I forget who made the motion. Was it you,
I made the
Councilor Janick? So, can we amend the motion then to, ask either DPW or the administrator to prepare those bid specs so that we're not caught flat-footed here in 5 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have to vote on the amendment? Deb just added it. Okay. All right. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
DPW Director Rogers, discussion possible vote to approve budget transfers. I'm not going to read them as listed. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of these? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. All those in favor?
Thank you again.
DPW Director, discussion possible vote to extend FY 2022 contract for pay-as-you-throw trash bags with Waste Zero Incorporated for 2 6-month time periods, November 22nd, 2022, May 26th, 2023, and May 27th, 2023 to 11/26/2023. And because we are closing the landfill, this money is going to, we still need this pay-as-you-throw right now.
Oh, yeah, we still need to save money by using the pay-as-you-throw. Also, it greatly increases recycling because people actually pay attention to that.
Yes.
I totally agree with that, but there's a lot of issues with these bags. People don't like them. They find that they're tearing. They're just very cheap.
I understand what you're saying, Deb, thank you. But they probably they make between recycling and trash, they 2,800 stops a day. So they make about 7, and there's a lot more bags than that than one. So you might have 10,000 bags a week. I'm not poo-pooing the fact that sometimes the bags rip, but you might have 10,000 bags picked up a week. We get some complaints, very few. I understand everybody may not complain, but I've been using them since the beginning. And I probably had one set of bags that the drawstrings didn't work in whatever that's been, 10 years or whatever. And a couple of them have ripped. And typically they rip because I put in something that was too square shaped, that was sharp, or overloaded it. And I did what I had to do, put it in another bag if that happened. So I understand what you're saying. I'm not discounting it, but percentage-wise, the number is very low of DPW complaints received.
Deb, this came up before. There's not a lot of distributors, right? There's like one or two.
Basically one that does this service.
Yeah.
There's basically one on the East Coast.
Right.
On the East Coast?
On the East
Yeah,
Coast.
this came up before because we wanted to switch it.
Yeah, I mean, is it true that these are so thin because they have to break down quickly in the landfill? Or is that's just an urban legend?
Not to my knowledge, is that correct, Deb? But they're only supposed to carry, and it's in the ordinance, 40 pounds. If you put 60 pounds in a 40-pound bag, it's going to rip. And the concept is size and weight, because the pay-as-you-throw program is supposed to be pay-as-you-throw. It's not supposed to be, use the bag incorrectly. True, it's like anything else, there can be some times when the bags rip. But again, I reinforce the percentage is very low.
Can they then take the bag and tie it around another trash bag? Because I think that's what people are doing out of frustration because the bags are not holding what they feel they should.
No, it's perfectly legal to use any kind of inexpensive bag that you buy, whatever, 50 bags at a time that are 30 gallons or 15 gallons, depending on what size you have, and put it inside the maroon-colored Tiverton bag. That's fine.
You have to put it inside the bag,
Not
not
around the
the
top.
top.
Pretty bow.
Correct.
Around the top.
Yeah, even the pretty bow doesn't count. It's got to be.
I think there's a lot of, I do the same thing, but I think there's a lot of misconception because people feel the landfill is closing tomorrow, that the bags are going away, and not understanding the reason for keeping them because we need to keep that landfill for another 20 or 30 years and doing work on it, correct, and testing?
Indefinitely on that, Deb. We're going to be testing there indefinitely, and we're going to have to finish the capping, and we don't have enough, we have to set aside money for even the capping. And there's...
$100,000 a year.
So there's a lot of issues with getting, I'm not saying we're not going to eventually get rid of the pay-as-you-throw, but there'll be some kind of other system, so far in DPW's opinion, that you still have to raise money. And having stickers and things like that, there's a lot of problems with that too. Everything has a problem. If there was one perfect solution, every municipality in the country would be doing it, and they're not.
I, for one, don't think we should ever get rid of pay-as-you-throw, and we should use it for our trash budget, to be honest, because if not, we'll have to tax.
And
for the landfill maintenance and whatever else we need for, but, yeah.
Because the costs will just keep going up.
Right.
Unless we learn to really, really recycle.
Yeah, this is an encouragement to recycle, and if you don't recycle, you're going to pay even more in tipping fees.
So, Madam President.
Pay more, and when it gets downloaded to become trash, there goes your cap.
Yes.
Just help me understand this, because they're looking for a 36% increase in their fee. What is that going to do to our margin? Because I'm assuming we're not increasing the retail price.
No, I think the increase is around 3%.
It's 36%. In the contract, they're charging $58 per large trash case, and then $36 for small. And in this proposed amendment, it's going up to $79.25 for a large fee case and $48.80 for a small one. So.
No, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, John, but currently the price is $47.25 for the small and $77.03 for the large, and the projected cost is $79.25 for the large and $48.80 for the small. And when I did the math, it was around 3, maybe 3.5%. And even by the old contract, it goes up 4%. So this actually went up less than 4%.
Where are you seeing those other numbers? Because I didn't see them in here.
The old numbers or the new numbers?
Well, I have the new numbers, like the extension agreement here. On the last page, it stipulates the 79 and the 48. But the only other reference point I have is in Exhibit A on the contract that talks about 58 and 36.
Okay, thank you, John.
And there's a year 2 to end of term to be determined.
Right, thank you, John, for that. And what that is they're allowed, and they've done that maybe 2 or 3 times so far, and that's under 13B for the extraordinary resin cost adjustments. And that, like everything else with the resin, PVC pipe, et cetera, the prices have gone up considerably. And they're allowed, as 13B, to raise that price. And they have gone up 2 or 3 times within the life of the contract.
So do we need to go up in cost at the retail location? Because I'm assuming this is going to eat into our margin, what we get off of this program, which the further our margin gets eroded, the longer it takes for us to make up the shortfall in the landfill.
Yeah, that's certainly a question to be asked, and if the council would like to go up on the price, DPW can put up an agenda request based on that, but we haven't gone up on the price since the inception. That's right. That's not to say it can't. It can certainly be discussed at some point, but it hasn't been really to date.
So just, again, for my own edification, what do we put away on a per bag basis? Or on a per roll basis?
Per year?
Like per roll, like I walk into the
per
store,
roll?
I buy a large roll.
So
It
on
costs me $10.
$10, what does the town get? Because it's $10 for,
Okay.
It costs $1.85 for a package of 10. That's what it cost us. So $1.85 is what we were paying when we were giving them out to the,
you're right.
at the beaches. Somebody gave you $10, you gave them a bag.
Right.
It was costing us $1.85 for the 10 bags.
All right.
And you're paying $10, so
So we're,
figure out the profit.
yeah, 8 something.
8.15.
8.15, yeah.
So maybe the price will go up now, I don't know, but that's what it was last year.
I mean, 81 cents a bag.
It doesn't make sense.
It's like $423, 423,000 a year. I don't know. I mean, go for it if you guys want. But I think we should take a long, hard look at how we handle trash in this community and come up with another solution.
John, you were like that when you were on the council last time, but the council determined that this was the way it was going to go. So unless the majority, it's too late to change how we're doing it right now, anyway, right now.
But we could look at it at the
Closing it
next
tomorrow,
contract.
we can look at it next.
At the next contract.
Yeah, DPW has been looking at it a lot.
I know.
And it's convoluted and very involved, but not just convoluted. There's a lot of issues. And yes, we have to look at it more, but it's not a quick solution.
All right, so I need a motion.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to approve the extension of the FY 2020-2022 contract for pay-as-you-throw trash bags with Waste Zero Inc. for 2 6-month periods, first from 11/27/22 through 5/26/23, and the second for 5/27/23 through 11/26/23.
Second.
And if I may say, maybe this is the point to point this out too, they have the option by contract to up it because of resin, and they could in theory go up without approval, so to speak, up to 4%.
Yep.
In the second period, so.
All right, so I have
And they
a,
haven't done that yet.
I have a
Right, this
motion.
is 3.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-1. Discussion possible vote to change allowable location for donation containers and revision of applicable ordinance sections. So the donation containers are outside the landfill. So where do you want to put them?
Right in front of the place.
Yes, what we did was, we did submit it, hopefully everybody got it, a proposed, basically a form. The issue was, at least in my understanding before, that they were allowed anywhere without any kind of agreement between any parties. What DPW, and that was a big issue, especially on the corner of Fish Road and Bulgarmarsh, but nobody had control of that area. This would allow any entity to propose an agreement using this form, the proposed form, with any entity, whether it's a business, it could be a restaurant, it could be anything, that those two parties agree to take responsibility for keeping the area in orderly fashion. And it's spelled out what happens under the first violation, second, et cetera. They would have to fill out this form. I'm not proposing any fee for this, but this, it could be the charitable organization, it could be St. Vincent de Paul, it could be Big Brothers Big Sisters, et cetera, Salvation Army. They would approach somebody, come up with an agreement that who's going to take care of it. They would list that, they would sign it, that would be submitted to DPW. DPW would have oversight, but the responsibility for maintenance would be with those two entities. And again, it's spelled out who, what happens under the first violation, et cetera. One of the issues we're having, we do not, DPW, is not a fan of having it at the recycle center because it's going to be limited hours. DPW is not a fan of having it outside the recycle center because it'd be unmonitored. Right now, there's a fair amount of junk left, and that's in an area that's very populated with people. And still, there's a lot of junk that's left. And again, we've been blessed. We pick up the junk and we take it to the landfill. Now we're going to have to be paying for that. So we want more control over it. And how we do is we get an agreement between the two parties. They're responsible. We simply oversee it.
So it doesn't go on any public property?
Oh, no, it could go on any private property, like it could go on a store or
Right,
something.
right.
And if the town council approved it, it could go on a public space. It could go somewhere if somebody was willing to monitor that. The big push is to have it on private property where those two parties monitor it. And another big issue is you want to make it easy for people to donate and recycle, because if you don't, it goes in the trash stream. Besides it being a waste, we're going to be paying for that by the ton. And also it increases our diversion rate and recycle rate.
This is a problem that every city and town is faced when they have these. So I apologize for not seeing this. I for some reason, it wasn't in my packet, but I think the town should probably pass an ordinance regulating where these can be and not be. And, just having them fill out a form, Rick, is great, but it's not enforceable. They may say, like, there's no teeth behind this if we say, well, you agreed to keep the area clean, but how are we going to enforce that? It's just really an agreement between two private parties. It certainly helps the town, the zoning officer say, hey, this is going to be cleaned up. We can look at, but I think we should probably look at a more comprehensive ordinance as to how we're going to regulate these.
Right. Thank you, Mike. And if I may, I did propose that under chapter, if I understand you correctly, under chapter 66, solid waste management, division 1, section 6655, I did add red ink in there, and it said this form shall be submitted and approved by DPW prior to the placement of any containers, and that form states what the violations, what the repercussions of the violations are. Now, I don't have any objection if you want to put down that in the ordinance, that if somebody puts it somewhere without the form approved by the town, that it can be removed, there can be a fine.
Guys, generally how it's handled is if you're requesting, if you're a private landowner, you're requesting this to be put on your property, there would be an ordinance that says this is what, this is where it's allowed, and you're responsible for X, Y, and Z, and if you're not responsible, then we can fine them under the ordinance. In other words, there's a lot of overflowing receptacles, you see it all around, and so you can go to the property owner and say,
you need to clean this up because you're violating the ordinance.
So if I
Could we
may,
table this and have
Yeah.
you look at it and then bring it back to the next meeting?
Yeah.
And then you can work with Rick too. Is that okay, Rick? That's what we'll do.
oh, certainly, it's okay.
So what we'll
And-
do is we'll table it, we'll have Mike look at it, and then you and him can work on it for the next meeting.
Right, and basically, I think maybe, Mike, if it was written, if it was added to the red ink that I proposed, if you put in that language that said, this form
Yeah, I can see what he's talking about.
shows where you can put it. And now you can change the form, subject to approval, without changing the ordinance. Because just listing every place would be cumbersome.
Well, I mean, I meant by zone, so like these are allowed in certain zones, but not residential zones, kind of.
Yeah, so business.
Can I just ask a question, just to clarify? Are these people putting them on their private property for collection of stuff, or is it, a business and they keep it behind their restaurant and they throw discarded boxes and?
No.
It's not that.
Planet Aid,
Yeah,
Big
it's
Brothers.
It's those, it's the collection ones.
Right.
Okay.
And there are reporting requirements that are in the ordinance now that would continue, because again, it helps with the diversion rate and the recycle rate that's mandated by DEM.
Madam President?
Yes.
If we are significantly amending or adding an ordinance, doesn't that need to be a public hearing?
Yeah.
And, all
Yeah.
right, so we're going to wait until the next meeting to see what the draft is, then advertise the public hearing, then hold our 2 meetings, and, okay.
May take longer than
Yes.
that.
It may take longer than that. Yeah. Okay, so, do I have a motion to table?
So moved.
Second,
Motion-
Table to the
directives, solicit.
meeting on the 12th.
Yeah, and with the solicitor and the DPW Director working together. Motion's been made in second. All those in favor?
Thank you all for your consideration and time on these activities.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rick.
Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Town solicitor, update on case number NC 2021.
Yeah, so very quickly, this was the case that was filed against the town a couple of years ago on the budget process. Since the town has now amended the budget process through the charter amendment, this case has become moot. I reached out to the plaintiff's attorney, asked him if he would voluntarily dismiss it. He agreed to, so that dismissal has been filed. There is a companion case that was filed by Mr. Katz, which basically is identical to this case. I have reached out to him numerous times, so I did finally contact, he finally got back to me right before Thanksgiving, and he's also considering voluntarily dismissing his suit based upon the charter changes. If we can't voluntarily agree to do that, I told him I would file a motion to dismiss, which obviously costs the town money, and we'd have to have a hearing on that, so I'm hoping that he will agree to dismiss it because it is moot. So that's where we are. I just wanted to give you an update on that.
Thank you. Now I need a motion to table M, L, and M because Chris is not here today. He would like us to table it so that he can discuss it with us.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made to table L and M. All those in favor? Okay. Discussion possible vote to approve council resolution requesting legislation for validating and ratifying amendments to the Tiverton Home Rule Charter as voted on the general election held November 8, 2022.
So this is really a procedural step. So now that the charter has been formally amended by the voters, it's just a kind of a housekeeping thing that we get the whole thing again ratified by the General Assembly, which kind of makes it a super law under Rhode Island law. So it's a step that I recommend that we take. And so they need a resolution. And so as soon as they get back in session, which I think is January 6th, hopefully the new Rep. Edwards would work on it and the others and get this passed relatively quickly.
So all we need is a vote to send.
Approve the resolution, yeah.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
So this should be
Pro forma.
easily done before budget.
Yes.
That's because the timeline's in it, that's why I'm going to put this on now, so hopefully we can get it done, yeah. I still believe that you don't need the ratification to have the budget, but it's a cleaner way of doing it.
And the next one is mine. I would like, as you all know, the new councilors don't know this, but we have to start discussing allocating the casino money again. We still have a lot of APRA funds. We've had a lot of meetings that has come to this. John and Dennis, I'll make sure you get all the packets. And I'd like to, we have to have a meeting all by itself, because it takes a little bit of time, because the school committee will be here and everything. So, I'm suggesting January 17th, is everyone available?
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah, because Monday is
Because
holiday.
Monday's a holiday.
Oh, okay.
Whereas I know.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that okay? Yes, okay. All right, so executive session, we are going to table, we're not going to go into these, but I am requesting we go into an executive session. I would like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add an item for executive session under 13C pursuant to 42-46, 6B under 42-46-585, related to the disposition of publicly held property, more specifically the Tiverton Business Park. Of course, we can't have, because I'm adding it wasn't advertised, this is for discussion only.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.